Anyway, hey, True Believers, England teen here. So last week on our open night, Mike night, we had a article come across. I guess it was from IGN talking about the greatest TV shows of all time. And right there, like around number 10, above stuff like Twilight Zone even, they had Watchmen. And it was just like, whoa, hold on. And that's when I got the great idea that, you know what we need to do? You know what we need to do? We need to make up our own top 20. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. There are one rule, I guess we should say. There is one rule, and it was no mini series. That's for a whole different list. Just a little note before we get started. I have never seen The Wire. I understand that everybody who's ever seen The Wire loves The Wire. I'm not leaving it off because I don't like it or anything, or because, it's all black. No, I just never saw it. Yeah, and I figured if you guys want to give this little note on a particular show, a particular popular one, like say, even though it lasted 42,000 seasons, I've never seen one episode of Supernatural. You know, if you have something like that you want to chime in with, by all means, take the time.
Hey, VENKMAN.
Yeah.
Can you send Mr. Corallo a link? I'm just inviting people to your party.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Go on ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, bring them on in. The the longer the show will be.
Yeah. So, it's your party, but he can invite if he wants to.
No, actually, he can. Go on ahead.
Yeah, well, I'll echo that. Yeah, I avoided putting anything on the list that I had not seen or at least seen enough to form an opinion. So just like England, I've not watched The Wire enough to put it on the list, but I recognize the greatness of it. So, LK, does Monday Night Raw count?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
not
yes,
tonight.
It's a Disney series. If you want to put it on there, I have no problems with it. I have a show that I wouldn't say falls into that category per se, but totally qualify. As you can see, my list will be very eclectic, especially the bottom 5, which I kind of use as like a super honorable mention. You know, they may not be, my personal like greatest shows of all time, but they need a little recognition. So
that's understandable. Mine is going to be I remember this show. It was so much fun. And yeah, so I've got one of those as well. And at this point in time, we're also stalling so Eric can get his friend in here.
No, he'll be here when he gets here.
Okay, cool. Hello to Ara Glenian, Dark Admiral. Feel free to put in your own list as we go, or of course we want to hear all the comments on anything we have on our lists. I guess we could start off. Can we see the beautiful visage of what's behind Fred Flintstone and some geeky puppets? Or are you guys gonna hide your faces?
I'm stuffing my face with onions and burger.
Okay. Because it's just a lot more exciting when you see that first 3 seconds to have 4 faces instead.
I think it's great right now because if you don't have the names on, they don't know if it's Pixel or if it's fake.
Okay.
Sure.
That's understandable.
Yeah, well, in VENKMAN, before we get started, I'm sure you probably recognize this shirt that I happen to be wearing since you mentioned Raw.
Oh, nice.
What the hell's that?
That was this was the WrestleMania Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
I've been cleaning up an image of comic book cover. I'm going to be putting on to my Teespring. Eric, you said you really like the comic book cover, and I'm going to put it on a T-shirt for. It's the one with the head being carried. The post the pre-crisis or pre-code
the shock suspense stories.
There you go. Yeah, because I've already got Black Cat Mystery, and I'm trying to put all of those on and then get T-shirts made of them. All right, let's get started. You want to go clockwise? I'll start it off, and we'll just go this way, or I'm good with that.
Sure.
Okay,
I got 20 now.
All righty, Eric's still on 17.
Yeah.
You picked you know what, the best. There's only 17 bests. I'm good. All right, my number 20.
I typed in 20 within 5 minutes, so this isn't a solid list.
Well, you know what? It's all subjective, and sometimes you watch a show and it's right there, and sometimes sometimes your favorite shows go away for a little bit in your mind, you know. My number 20, on the other hand, was one that my mother made me watch as a kid. And I don't know, in the 1970s, it may have been considered a show that you just don't make kids watch. But it was a comedy. It ended up being a comedy drama, and it is called MASH. It's a TV show about an army hospital in Korea, the Korean War, and it was just a fantastic show. I visit it a lot. I don't think I've ever watched it from beginning to end, but I always go, I'll check out this episode, I'll check out that, or I'll put on a random. It's funny, it's dramatic, it's got great acting in it. And Alan Alda, who's crazy far left, doesn't exactly destroy it. So yeah, it really works for me. How about you, Eric? I see your mind's a turning. You want to say something about this show?
No, I would say the first 3 seasons were as funny as any show maybe ever. Mm-hmm. And like I said the other night, it's the only show I can ever think of that ever successfully transitioned from a comedy to a drama.
Sometimes in the same episode.
I mean, there was, just as a show in general, I mean, mm-hmm. The closest I can come to that is Lou Grant was a character from a comedy, but Lou Grant was a drama.
Yeah. One of my, of course, the final episode where you got Alan Alda on the bus, but you've got all the craziness of everybody getting ready to go home and all that kind of stuff. Spoiler. That showed a great balance. But there was also an episode where like Houlihan and Hawkeye were just caught in a hut and they were being bombarded all around them. And it made a good mix of comedy and drama as well. But my number 20, MASH. All righty, Venkman, what'd you get for number 20?
Number 20, I was going through this, and some of mine are picks are from the MeTV era. So the next couple years, I just covered them. One of them is this one it's not the best show. I just couldn't stop watching it. It is Emergency.
Emergency, like the old fire truck?
Yes.
All righty.
I just couldn't put it down. I still remember the first episode I ever watched, and I was like, "What is this?" These firemen. Oh, I promised to put this blanket together for this hot mom, single mom, and he fucked up the blanket. He didn't know how to put it together. So by the time she showed up, he's just like, I'm done with it. And another lady drove off somehow and got on top of the roof of her house with the car. Or no, that's what it is. The kid stole the car, and he was dangling on the roof, and he was about to go over the edge. It's like, it is just one of those shows. It's like, it doesn't have to be very dramatic, you know. It just has. It's kind of like, it's just. I don't know. It was just there so you could turn on. It wasn't too complicated. It was, it was just enough where no matter what episode you turned on, you didn't have to worry about, okay, what did I miss in the past season or so?
Okay.
Right.
Julie London, Gilf.
Yes.
and back then, that was the style of the show. It was so that people weren't expected to watch each and every episode. That you would kind of go in and out. If you missed one, you weren't missing something huge. It's funny. I think I know I mentioned this once before, but I mean, as a kid, I had the red emergency truck with the 2 Mego style figures, and of course, those got sold in a garage sale decades and decades ago, and I don't want to think about it. But yeah, that was a huge fun one. Again, that was a show too where I probably caught more on reruns, back in the day, because this was a, gosh, I'm trying to think. I want to say it was almost like a late afternoon rerun back in the day.
Yeah, it used to be on like at 4:00 in the afternoon after school in the early 80s and such. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now, how about you, okay?
Well, I was just going to ask Venkman real quick. So I'm curious, have you watched 911?
No.
Okay, because I haven't watched a lot of it, but I would consider that kind of the modern version of Emergency.
What about you? What's your number 20, LK?
Okay, so my 20, as I mentioned before, I kind of used the bottom 5 to give recognition to shows that, I really love, but wouldn't normally make, say, a top 20 list. So for me, number 20 is NCIS. And the reason why it's number 20 on my list is it is nearly the perfect comfort food show. And it's amazing that it's actually gone on for 20 years. And for the most part, it's kept the quality.
No, LK, there was only ever 2 episodes. It just feels like it's been going on for 20 years.
It's amazing, too, that it's gone on for 20 years, too, because who watches it?
Yeah.
The people that can't change the channel for themselves.
LK and his grandma.
You're so good that TV doesn't have a remote, I guess. Yeah, you can't change it.
Okay. So, I mean, I grew up watching procedural type shows as a kid, and so I mean that's part of the reason why I love it. I had the opportunity to go back actually this past week and watch the first episode again, which is takes place aboard Air Force One, and the guy who's handling the football falls ill and turns out he was poisoned, and turns out in this whole thing to try and get the president. And it's a great episode, and it sets everything up for the season because it introduces the main characters. It's fantastic, and again, just like say Emergency, it's one of those shows where you can pick up, and for the most part, certainly the first 4 or 5 seasons, you can get dropped right into the middle of an episode, have fun, not worry about what you saw before or catch again. And so as I say, it's the perfect comfort food show.
I'll tell you what, we're gonna since you only have 17, we're gonna
I've filled it out.
You filled it out? Okay, what's your number 20?
Wait, I just want to say real quickly about actually CSI is like watching the Reds. You know what's going to happen.
I was going to say, and also, you can't really do continuing stories because you never know who's going to be around the next week.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because
your audience is going to die off week by week.
Putting in night, but
you need to clean up those stories really quick before your audience dies off.
Number 20, the first Bob Newhart show.
Okay, that is go on ahead. Please talk about it.
Yeah, it's not one of those shows where there's any great deal of character growth, but it didn't need it. And really, comedies didn't really do that in those days. Just had a nice ensemble. Oddly enough, Bob Newhart and Suzanne Plachette inexplicably had great chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Although they were just not even, I mean, it shouldn't have worked, but it did. And then like the characters, like the patients, like in particular Mr. Carlin, Jerry the dentist, Carol the receptionist. It was just a really fun show. And I said, I said the other night, for 2 seasons, CBS had All in the Family, MASH, Mary Tyler Moore, Bob Newhart, and Carol Burnett. That night will never be touched again. Restaurants suffered, nightclubs suffered. It's like they took the biggest going out night of the week and kept America in for 2 years.
That's what they said about Thursday in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, well, but at least in the 80s, if you had some money, you probably had one of those expensive recording machines that eventually became the VCR, but you didn't have them in 1970.
That is true. That is true. Okay, let's see. Going around the comments here, Ara saying that MASH was one of his 3 favorite shows. Maranya says MASH was good for most of its run until it became more Hawkeye-centric. Ironic. She had a huge crush on Alan Alda, but sometimes too much of a good thing. Yeah. Let's see. Emergency was a great show. It was based on actual rescues. Johnny Gage was my crush, says Maranya. And Emergency is fun oddball from Undead Quinn. And let's see. There were 3 lines in Emergency in terms of continuing plot lines, but it could be watched out of order. And then we've got NCIS was a spinoff of JAG. First couple of seasons were solid. Some people to this day need Gibbs smacked. So there we go. And yep, we are starting at number 20. I actually couldn't get into Bob Newhart when I was younger, so I never went back. But I see it's on Tubi, and I was thinking about picking it up just to check it out.
Well, you were watching it.
You were 2 when it came out, so I guess that can be understood.
But I wasn't much older when MASH came out. But the thing is, MASH lasted 13 years, so when I was 15, I was seeing the end of it, and I understood it a little bit more. My number, what are we on, number 19? My number 19, you guys blasted me for this. I'm sorry, guys, as much as you might like the TNG, give me Kirk, give me Spock, give me Dr. McCoy. I like the original Star Trek above all else as far as the Star Trek is concerned.
At 19.
It's got the what?
You love it so much better than the other ones, so it's at 19.
No.
Where are the other
I'm talking
ones?
about the other Star Trek shows.
Yeah.
This was just fun. It had the right amount of camp. It had the right amount of everything you ever needed from a Star Trek show. Also, I gotta contribute a little bit of it to the age I was born into. Star Trek was not an incredibly popular show. It got canceled, but then it went into syndication everywhere because it was cheap. And if you were my age, boom, you were just caught up in all of it. Yeah, I love it. Granted, just like everybody else, I recognize the decline in season 3, but still, just a shit ton of fun. Go on ahead.
Oh, my job.
No, nobody's saying anything. All right, let's move on. What you got?
I'll say you'll probably be surprised. Star Trek did not make my top 20.
Okay, I'm not surprised it didn't make any because I think there are some shows that have lost a lot of favor, and I think Star Trek the original is one of those. What do you got for your number 19
Well,
there?
if there's Star Trek New Orleans or something, it'd have been on LK's list.
If Star Trek is sports,
STARTRAK New Orleans.
Undead Quinn is absolutely right. He's saying OG Star Trek was better than Star Trek Next Generation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. What you got, RDV? Number 19.
My number 19 is a show I used to watch as reruns back when I was a kid. I stayed home from school. It'd come on around noon. It'd be on channel 24, which at the time was UPN. And it started off with someone just going, had to go fishing. You hear whistling in the background.
We're probably going to get copyright struck for that one. But
How would that rate this?
No. No, Andy Griffith Show. I watched reruns, never got a chance to watch the whole entire thing, but actually it was a very fun show. Very educational. First experience with Don Knotts, never seen him before, never watched.
That man's a comedy legend. You cannot change my mind. That whole thing with a whiteboard, I'd be like, can't change my mind. Don Knotts, fucking comedy legend. But you know what? So was Andy Griffith. But anyway, by all means. Keep going.
But yeah. So it said you got the guy who is complete idiot, Barney Fife. You know, he is like the worst deputy you could have, and then Andy, who is trying to raise his kid, but he's also got to deal with. I guess it was his mother. I can't remember if it was his mom.
Aunt B.
His Aunt B.
Yeah,
It was
his
his aunt. Or
Anyway,
you got more stories. The best thing, like I say, the best thing about the whole entire show though was the whole set. The general store, how everything was back then. Setting, when you have like a villain come to town who's on the lam, you know, trying to hide out in Mayberry, and like Andy has to like capture him before he gets
that's one of my favorite episodes, by the way. I know what you and Barney comes across him, and he's like, "Hey guys, you got to watch out because there's some hardened criminals around here," and they kind of push him around, and then Andy comes back. He goes, you know, I'm just going to warn you, he'll clear his throat. He'll tap his holster a couple of times. And I love Andy Griffith. It didn't make my top 20, but yeah, I love it.
It had to be because it's one of my childhood memories was watching that, growing up. So
it's pretty cool. How about you, LK? We're on number 19. What you got for us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say first off that Andy Griffith and both Matlock and Andy Griffith made my kind of honorable mentions I thought about in the shows. In that, Sheriff Andy, wound up becoming the template for the competent small town sheriff, and yeah, it's a great show. So for me, number 19. Again, I'm a huge anime fan, and I wanted to, because it is TV, and this, did make enough episodes to qualify for a series. So basically, my favorite all-time anime, number 19, is Cowboy Bebop.
All right.
So, it's got just one of the best opening themes of all time, anime, non-anime. It's just this incredible jazzy theme. It's kind of a film noir style story with Spike and Jet, set in space, set in future. It's a fantastic anime. It's one that I probably go back to and watch episodes at least once a year. in terms of just a favorite show.
Actually, I've never seen it. Never seen the anime. I've seen the, of course, I've seen the live action, and that was awesome.
I'm not
I've
surprised.
never seen the anime.
When you were
Hey, Joe.
What's up? All right. Well, hello to Joe.
Hey.
Are you look like you're looking around, wondering if you're on?
Butch?
You're on.
He's coming in at 480p on my end.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for Joe,
fine. I just knew when LK.
all righty. How about you, Eric? What's your number 19?
The Stones. Fred and
Okay.
Barney.
Eye lagging. Should I go out and come back in?
Yeah, go on ahead and do that, and then we'll
Sure,
get you
go
back on. Because yeah, you're kind of like you said in 480. All righty, let's talk about the Stones. Let's talk about the original.
Right there, baby.
Your look-alike of all things.
I figured, I want to represent, at least have one cartoon on there. And this goes back to a day and age where, hell, when they were advertising cigarettes, for God's sake, so old. It's just, it was the way they would parody what was going on in entertainment at the time. All the like the rock quarries, the Ann Margrocks, and this. I said it was an animated version of the Honeymooners, but then since it lasted so much longer, they got to do more with it, and it was just like 5 or 6 seasons of just a blast. And when they brought in Gazoo, and Harvey Korman's voice was perfect for that, and I could a little Pebbles and Bam Bam went a long way, but up to that point.
Well, one thing I thought about the Flintstones was that it was way out, way out. That's where the fun is, way out.
Way out.
You want to contribute here, Joe? You got a list made?
I don't have a full list made, but I have a bunch of shows that I could turn. I was going to say it's not even worth mentioning now, but I'm going to anyway. When I popped in originally, when LK was just talking about iconic theme and like a good theme song, which you were talking about Cowboy Bebop. Was that what was going on?
Yep.
Yeah. Because I was like, I knew you weren't talking about Buck Rogers when you were talking about a good theme. That theme. Whatever you said, whatever people think about the show is one thing. That theme is a reminder that, you know what? Maybe theme songs for shows don't need lyrics.
Some of the best ones don't.
Long-time fans of this channel know there's only one important thing about the Buck Rogers show. And we delivered it every Saturday night at 11.
Yep.
The Wilma Report. I would take my eyes off the auction, turn off whatever game I was watching, and then report on the first hot outfit Wilma Deering was wearing in any given episode.
It was a fun time to be had.
And then MeTV had to screw it all up by moving it to 5 a.m. And by this time the auctions weren't quite lasting that long anymore.
Right.
it was better than waiting for the big dogs, on the auction. We got the
sometimes.
And less expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So you got a TV show for us that you would put at number 19?
Oh, geez, number 19 specifically.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's like, I'm at 5.
That's what we're doing. You got to man up. You got to say this is this and that's that.
No. You asked me to do commentary. I figured Joe could take my place.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you want to join us for commentary, but let me get the comments and then we'll move on to number 18. My Name is Earl was Cartoon and Comics 19. Criminal Minds to Ahsoka. Don Knotts, The Incredible Mr. Limpet. Not lipid, but yep, you're close. Andy Griffith Show taught traditional values, single father raising a son with the help of his aunt. Trivia, some sets were used in classic Trek, namely the Miri and City on the Edge of Forever. Also trivia, Aunt B was a bitch.
Come on.
No, it's true.
Francis Xavier was supposed to be a
they had a lot of trouble with her behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Okay.
Yeah, Star Trek: The Next Generation to boldly go and talk to people they've talked to many times before. Thank you. My number 18 is Cowboy Bebop, says Cartoons and Comics. Live action Cowboy Bebop was terrible. I don't know. I've never seen the anime. By the way, that's actually something happened with very similar to a TV show I'll be talking about later. Flintstones was based on the Honeymooners' surprisingly adult plots for kids show, though it was aired in prime time. Didn't they have a Fred Flintstone James Bond episode or something like that?
It was a takeoff on
A Man Called Flintstone.
It was takeoff on the Flint movies.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Let's see. We are talking about the top our 20 greatest TV shows. We're here for the long haul, guys. Let's see. 18 ghost stories. Let me put it this way: serious anime that failed in Japan, but has gotten a cult following in America because they turned it into a comedy. Littlest Hobo had a great theme in the Raccoons. You know what? We'll have to talk about best theme songs another time. Dark Admiral says Home Improvement. What'd you say?
The Littlest Hobo with a shotgun?
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. We were on 19 right there. Now we're moving to 18.
Yep.
And that is you talk about great avatars, and you talk about a situation where you never saw the anime, so you thought the live action was pretty good. I took my daughters to see a movie by M. Night Shyamalan, and I was like, that wasn't so bad. And my daughters looked at me like they wanted to strangle me, and they said, "No, Dad, you've got to see the original." So they brought me home and they showed me Avatar. And I freaking thought it was boring as balls. And I was like, what the hell are you showing me? I saw the first episode. I can't watch this. So they said, just watch a few more. By the end of the second episode, I'm like, this is awesome. Let's go. Okay. I loved it. I mean, this was at the time where shows that went straight through, like season 1 told a story, season 2 continued the story. That's when this was new. So having all 3 seasons tell just one good long story was awesome. And then now it's like a 3-season movie. This is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, and that's what it is. It's an epic story. Would I ever want to see it done in a live action movie? I don't know. It's perfect the way it is. I think there might be something visceral if they but they can't fall back. If they're ever going to do it live action, they got to go as balls to the wall as the cartoon did with the blood. What is that they call bloodletting or whatever it is? One of my favorite scenes was the Earthbender up in a spaceship, crashes through a door, and then bends the metal around herself to use his armor. I thought this show is so fucking cool. So my number 18 was Avatar.
Dang.
I open it up for anybody if you want. Nope. Okay, we'll move on to RDV then.
Avatar, the Last Airbender?
Last Airbender.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, Avatar, the movies aren't TV shows.
Yeah.
I think you're going to say you took your kids to watch Dragon Ball Evolution.
Never saw an episode of Dragon. I tried to watch Dragon Ball, My Little Pony that came out last year. It was just not
Dragon
good.
Ball Z is the
Dragon
anime.
Ball Z Roni Pony or something like that.
No, that's Broly.
I don't care.
No, I was making a joke because Evolution was supposed to be based off at Dragon Ball Z, and it had nothing to do with it at all. It was
so. What's your number 18?
Number 18 is going to be MASH.
So you can talk or mine, and then you just go, okay, well, yeah.
That's like I said. As far as MASH goes, I never saw the ending, so thanks for spoiling it for me before.
You didn't know that the war had ended. Well, technically, it's not ended.
Oh, I didn't know if the
We
show got that
won.
far.
Sort of.
Well, I mean, no, I know that. I know the war was over, but I mean, as far as the show, I don't know if the show got that far. If it got canceled, because I heard people said it sucked towards the end.
Oh,
So you would put MASH over After MASH?
very
What kind
few
of water
words.
dash is that?
I know, right?
Yeah.
All righty. Okay, LK, how about you?
Well, I mean, I'll say, MASH again. was the show I considered, but it's funny. It's actually, I've soured on it, the older that I've gotten, and especially it's hard for me to go back and watch the old dramatic ones, and that's part of the reason why I didn't make my list. So, and the other one of many future horrible TV confessions here is I've probably seen more episodes of The Legend of Korra than Avatar: The Last Airbender. So we'll just leave it at that.
I've seen neither.
My number 18, again, initially I was like, okay, I've got to have another just regular animated show. And this show, it's an example of a show that has done such a great job of evolving from what its original premise was into something even greater. And that is the Venture Brothers. This is an animated show, for people who don't know, that started out as kind of a parody of like Johnny Quest and the other Hanna-Barbera adventures of the 60s and so on. And as the seasons have built, the story has just grown. It's gotten so much better. So many just amazing moments, amazing characters. And it's all the vision of basically two guys, Jackson Public and Doc Hammer. And, they were able to get a nice finish here recently with the release of the movie, which is pretty good. It gave me a satisfying ending. But, if you're looking for a great kind of adult, with great tongue-in-cheek humor, Venture Brothers is just a fantastic show.
Right.
I agree. What was it? I think that what was it? That yard sale episode in that first season was one of the first ones where I was like, okay, I think I know what this show's doing, and I like it. And then by the time you got to the Trial of the Monarch, it was really full steam ahead. And then that really from the second season on, it was pretty great stuff.
Well, and especially the way that they evolved out and learning the story of Doc Venture's family, and finding out his brother and, his father is not exactly the great person that he thought he was. I mean, but it's done so well. And again, it's beautiful to see a show that is more or less the singular vision of one, or in this case, two guys, and that they've been able to keep that. And that's part of been just so consistently great.
All righty. Yeah. How about you, Eric? Number 7 or 18? Number 18. What you got?
Well, first I wanted to show for the cool kids.
Awesome.
Was he holding up something? It looks exactly like him. Couldn't tell.
Droll, very droll. It's a Fred line. Mary Tyler Moore Show is my number 18.
All right.
So kind of the same thing. One of the things we complain about comics, one's not written by Joe Corallo, cheap plug.
Of course.
Is the lack of supporting cast. And because a good supporting cast can really make or break a lot of forms of entertainment. And I don't know that there was ever a better ensemble than the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Lou, Murray, Rhoda, Phyllis, Sue Ann, Ted Baxter. I mean, Ted Baxter, that show's been off the air for 46 years. Everybody remembers so many of the characters from that show. If they haven't seen it, they've heard about, some of the people, and it's just, and it could get dramatic when it needed to, but more often than not, it was just hysterical. And I said it was just a very well done show.
All right.
But if this is where
a little bit about it. Go ahead.
If this is where the Mary Tyler Moore Show is on your list, there's no chance of Phyllis making the list, I take it.
It's right on top of After MASH.
Okay.
Maranya's saying trivia about Mary Tyler Moore. They wanted to make Mary divorced, but they feared fans would go, "Why did she divorce Rob?" They ended up making her a jilted woman at the altar. That's a good point. What I said this before, Mary Tyler Moore is one of my TV crushes. Of course, my experience or first seeing Mary Tyler Moore was Dick Van Dyke when I would stay home sick from school and they would have the shows on during the day. It was something you got to understand. 53 years old in the 1970s, we didn't have a bajillion TV shows. You really had 3 networks and UHF. And UHF was always like Dick Van Dyke, Gomer Pyle, Andy Griffith, and a few others they might throw in.
Did you know what her first TV gig was before Dick Van Dyke?
Your show of shows, or
it was a detective show, and she wasn't on it, but her legs were. The only time you saw her was, you'd see her legs through the desk where she worked.
Mm-hmm.
So she was just that pair of. She was the original. Those gams.
Yeah, well, she was the one that. What were they called? The stirrup pants, the yoga pants. Woo.
One thing though about the Dick Van Dyke Show now is if they
we'll talk about it later.
Well, if they ever rebooted that with Dick Van Dyke, that him tripping over that ottoman, not funny anymore.
No, it would definitely
be very funny.
It would definitely ring differently than it did in the past.
Well, don't forget too. I mean, what was great was they recognized that in the later seasons. The opening was him going up and then stepping around it.
That was
character growth. Someone wanted. Those were the arcs back then.
Yeah,
I gotta give it up. Let's see, a more recent TV show. A lot of people blasted it right out the gate. I stuck with it, and got to tell you, it ended up being one of my favorite shows, one of the better live action versions of this character. And still to this day, when I bring it up, I get people going, "Are you f***ing kidding me? You like that piece of sh?" And that's Gotham.
Are you kidding me? You like that piece of
Gotham was a great alternative telling of the Batman story. I enjoyed it. Now, granted, the first season is a little bit monster of the week, but when they just say, you know what, screw it, let's just tell a story here, they really just went balls to the freaking wall with this, where instead of, of course, Batman's going to show up at the end of it. But really, instead of caring about that, let's just see how the GCPD would handle it. It had great casting. The I forget his name, but the dude who played Gordon, freaking perfect. What is her name? Mira Sortis, whatever her name is, from Deadpool. She's in it as
Monica.
Marina Baccarin.
Baccarin, right? But what's his name? Logue. Donald Logue as Harvey Bullock. You could not ask for better casting than that.
I would consider watching an NCIS if Donald Logue was on it.
Yeah,
that's how much I like Donald Logue.
The guy who they got to play the Penguin, but I'll tell you what, straight up greatest live action Riddler of all time. And you couldn't convince me that the guy who played Martin Short's assistant in Father of the Bride movies would be the best freaking Hugo Strange as well. This had some excellent versions of some classic heroes. I love this freaking show. I did a rewatch at the beginning of this year and was like, how did people not like this? This show is fucking awesome. Yeah.
What it did that really worked for me was the first season they had, was it Renee and Hardback?
Mm-hmm.
And the characters just did not take.
Right.
And so they just disappeared.
Bye-bye.
I don't know that you could do that today.
Yeah, they would be like, wait, you're cutting out a Puerto Rican girl and a black guy? You can't do that. Yeah. But yeah, they were like, okay, the characters aren't working.
Because they had, when she was even fooling around with, what's her name? The hot blonde that ended up, it was messing around with Jim. She was cheating on Jim with her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, good. It was
Barbara Kane or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kane something.
Like first it was like she's going to be Harley, but then they didn't make her Harley. But what if we made her well, we're not going to do that either.
They kept her hot. That was all I cared about.
Yeah, she was definitely good looking. And here's the thing, and here's how you know she's good looking. She was good looking standing next to Marina Baccarin, whatever her name is. I can't.
No, she was hot. She looked good standing next to Jessica Lucas.
Yeah,
who played the crazy guy's crazier sister.
Oh yeah,
she's been sweetness and light and everything she's ever been in. But she was Tabitha in Gotham, and she was like a killing machine.
Yeah,
and she had the whip.
Let's see what RDV has at his number 17.
Mine is a series that had Michael Hurst in there, along with Bruce Campbell would guest star, and this is during the '90s, late '90s. You should know who the main guy is. Obviously,
I'm writing
kind
it
of
down.
fallen out with Hollywood. It's Kevin Sorbo in the Hercules Legendary Journeys.
All righty.
It was my first introduction to anything like, Greek mythology and all that stuff. This shows like this got me into watching the movies like Beastmaster, all those ones that LK would always like, oh, I gotta get these from the VHS, rent them.
Even
honestly,
now,
I thought no, I can't anymore. I mean, they're probably worth a lot more. Actually, I don't know if VHS or there's any collectors out there for VHS.
yeah, there's a lot of collectors for VHS.
Only mainly 80s horror movies. They collect the boxes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So anyway, like I said, you had the late Kevin Smith, who played Ares on there. Phenomenal actor. Died. I think he died of cancer or something like that.
Not to be confused with the Wait Kevin Smith.
No. No, this was a better Kevin Smith.
Right.
Yes. No, like I said, it went on for a couple seasons. It spawned off that Xena show, which went horrible.
I never saw any.
At least I did, because it came more about will they or won't they become a lesbian couple. I was like, really, guys? Can you focus more on the story?
Wait a minute.
The first
wasn't that the
3
story?
seasons of Xena are pretty good. Then it starts going off the rails, especially I think.
Yeah.
What was it with the whole kind of Roman storyline? I think is where it really starts to lose it.
Like my thing is like, if you obviously they're doing it for ratings because the show was kind of dropping in popularity, so they decided to basically appeal to the shippers and like, yeah, let's just have them be a couple, And the show didn't last much longer after that. I said if they had them a lesbian couple in the beginning, I wouldn't have cared. But they went away from like telling compelling stories. They basically like, are they gonna kiss this episode?
I was into it. How about you, LK? What's your number 17?
Yeah. Okay, well, one of the other things that I loved as a kid growing up was game shows. And while my all-time favorite game show personally was probably Sale of the Century, it was one that I always wish I could have gone on. I've got to recognize, probably the best game show of all time, and that is The Price is Right. I mean, with the recent passing of Bob Barker, I mean, I think every kid, had the rite of passage of watching Price is Right when they were, sick, in school, and it was a fantastic game show. Bob Barker, obviously was amazing MC in terms of how he, treated the guests that came up, always made the show fun, and usually had really, interest, for the most part, had some really interesting games too. I mean, I can still, hear the yodeling, from the mountain.
Oh, the climber.
In the back of my head.
Yeah.
So, as I said, I kind of used the bottom 5 to give recognition to some shows that otherwise people wouldn't mention, and The Price is Right is one.
Okay, so there's a great Price is Right documentary. This guy got injured in a car wreck, and he was laid up for months. And so he would watch Price is Right, and he started noticing, wait a second, they used that product that time, and they use this product this time. So he started, while he was laid up, writing down all the products, and how much they cost, and he memorized them. And he went to get on the show, and he won everything, including at the end of the what do they call it? The World Showcase Showdown.
The Showcase Showdown, yeah.
I forget what it's called, but I don't think there's a lot of Prices Right. But yeah, check it out if you can. It's really fun.
Did he get
And it's real interesting because I mean, they started to, because he tried to go on like multiple times, and producers were questioning, okay, is this guy cheating? What's he doing? Kind of thing. It is a worthwhile documentary to check out.
It really is. Eric, number 17, sir.
A couple things, about The Price is Right. Remember the $500 pocket? When a girl would get the price right, exactly right, Bob would have her reach into his pocket and pull out the money.
Yeah, $100 bill. Yeah,
perfect. It's $500. And okay, if you were a kid of a certain age, you watched Price is Right because there was like a 5 or 6 year stretch where Diane Parkinson was on there, and they were going to give away something that necessitated her being in a bikini. Probably the best ratings period that show ever had. And there was, you hoped that if the spokesmodels were wearing something, tight, that someone would get a Plinko chip stuck because the spokesmodel would have to slither up the stairs and hand him a new one. There's your Price is Right. Okay, I can get behind that choice.
Well, Eric, now that you mention it, I do remember there were a lot of hot tubs that were given.
A disproportionate amount of hot tubs.
All righty, little Saturday Night Live. How about you, number 17?
MASH.
All righty.
For the reasons I said before, and so we don't want to be here like one of your old auctions, we'll just assume we covered it when you did your number 20.
All righty. Let me get some comments. Rhaegar says, you like Gotham? Unsubbed. Ahsoka is saying, you got to be kidding me. Maranya says, Gotham had bits of diamonds and a lot of sludge. I liked Fish Mooney and Gordon and the Riddler. I liked Alfred and Gotham. Yeah, there you go. You're naming some good stuff. Donald Logue just seemed like such a believable dirty cop. So great. But then we find out he meant greasy. Maranya saying Hugo Strange in Gotham was also in L&O SVU. Let's see. Jim Sorensen, my choice for 18 is Jack Benny. His comedy still holds up. Alfred was cool. So was Penguin. Riddler a bit on the nose. I've got to tell you, he was one of the best. Kevin Sorbo was just at the Beanie Complex last week, says Rhaegar. I didn't know he was Jewish. Let's see. So that's going to take some thinking, guys.
No,
17 was Generator Rex. Xena was good. Let's see. You're tripping middle class Joe. I don't know what that means. Jeopardy is the best game show ever invented, says Rhaegar, only if it's comic book Jeopardy and only on this channel. Ahsoka saying mysteries at the museum. Yep, always wanted to play Plinko, excuse me. All right.
We got a lot of people playing Plinko.
I know, right? Documentary is called The Perfect Bid, and Dalton has, in fact, arrived. How are you doing today, sir?
I have, and screw you for making me narrow down all the shows I've ever watched into a 20.
I told you last week, if you did your homework just before the show started, that's on you.
Well, the problem is, one, narrowing down all the good shows I've ever seen into a 20 list, and then ranking them is a pain in the posterior as well.
Right, and then you only jump on until number 16. So you want it, without spending a lot of time, what is your 20 through 17?
Well, hold on. Can anybody else hear him other than you? Because I can't hear him at all.
Oh, can you guys?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah, I can hear him.
I'm gonna have to jump out then because I can't hear him.
Oh, it did the. I hate when it does that. When someone new comes in, it always makes it like you can't hear.
How'd you get so lucky? All right, because this is going to be a long show anyway. Quickly, you're 20 through 16 or 17.
Okay, number 20. First of all, my bottom 10 are all animated because that's how I had to break up the list. My 20 is Daria.
Okay.
My 19 is Courage the Cowardly Dog. My 18 is, if I can remember the order I put them in.
Dude, I told you take notes. You never do that.
Because I can't even see the notes that I take if I take the notes, because I'd have to jump out and jump back in and jump out and jump back in.
What's your number 17?
So it's useless. It's useless anyhow. My 8. That's what my 18 was. Ed, Ed and Eddie, because it's basically cartoon Seinfeld. My 16 or no, my 17 was what was my 17? Fuck, I can't remember. God damn the order. I don't
get a piece of paper.
Don't remember the order I put them in. Is the problem.
Okay.
All righty. Let's move on to we'll move on to number 17 and you can work that out.
16.
We're on 16? Yeah, we're on 16.
Yeah.
This is my oddball one. This is mine and you got to understand. I know everybody here likes Indiana Jones. Obviously.
Correct.
But I just so happen to be of the perfect age. I'm 53. When Indiana Jones
I remembered my. I remembered my 17, by the way. It was
I'll bounce back into my little spiel. Go ahead.
It was Jackie Chan Adventures was my 17.
Okay. But the thing is I was 12 when Raiders of the Lost Ark came out. So that I was the perfect age. 12-year-old boy, Raiders of the Lost Ark comes out, and it sparks off, I want adventure. I want adventure shows. So along comes a TV show starring that guy from that really boring Star Trek movie, and it's called Tales of the Gold Monkey. And this is they were like in the African jungle or something. They were all going after this kind of almost like the Maltese Falcon. It was like this little statue they had at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was fun. It was funny, very entertaining. I just now discovered it's on DVD. I'd been hunting for this. So when I was telling LK before, when all the freaking payments come in and I know I've got it, I'm getting that DVD so I can revisit it. But I have loved this show from afar. My big fear is I'm going to get it. I'm going to watch it again and be like, ooh. Yeah, but I've from all reports, from all reports, it holds up. You can find like clips and everything, but I have not found anywhere that's streaming this thing. And I am so freaking jazzed to see that show again. It was so much fun, so entertaining. And of course, because it was great and I loved it, it only lasted like 1, maybe 2 seasons.
You know, this seems like that was your version of a show I liked when I was a kid, when Cartoon Network went through its live action phase called Unnatural History. Yep. It was a fucking great show, and it was on the wrong. Obviously, it was on the wrong network, but yeah, it only lasted 1 season.
Tales of the Gold Monkey was just freaking pure awesomeness all the way across the board. So from my memory, of course. But there you go. All righty, Venkman's back. Or is he?
Testing. Can you hear me?
He's there, but is he there?
Now I can hear you. I go, wait, StreamYard. So I've been having this issue with StreamYard for about the past month or so, where it likes to lag. So I don't know if I have to get another graphic card updater or what, or but when I first logged
it does that to me all the time.
So
it also does when a new person gets added, you can't hear them thing. It does it to Dominic a lot, and I feel bad because I always worry I'm talking over him.
I've never had that before.
All right, Venkman, what is your number 16?
My number 16 is Last Man Standing.
Oh, I
Tim
love
Allen.
that show.
I kept thinking, it's like, is this Home Improvement just like 2.0? And for the most part, it was a little bit, but it was actually the fact that it was just blatantly Tim Allen being a conservative in a household full of women that were basically non-conservative.
Oh no, the mom was conservative.
Was she? She was kind of. I always got the impression that she was left-leaning.
And the youngest daughter, the one that went off to she was conservative. Yeah,
but as far as the show goes, I was surprised that this was even being aired when we had all this anti-Trump hate on all the networks. It went from ABC and it moved to to Fox.
Yep.
And it survived, which is like I've never heard that before, where a show moves a network to a completely different network. And
because so, Tim cashed in all his celebrity chips to get that show made, and
most likely,
but this actually did have it. What he's talking about is it was right at the beginning of, if you're a leftist, you can't like a conservative. If you're a conservative, you can't like a leftist. And people went after Tim Allen, and he went to Fox, and the conservative fans followed. It's a very good show, and one of the things it's good at is balancing. It does not treat the liberal characters poorly, and but it does say, like, one of my favorite conversations. There's a guy there who is married to his son-in-law.
Yeah,
very far left, and he's going off, and he goes, "Look, I respect you. You've got your politics. You want to do that forever, but do you realize that you support every tribe but your own?" And that kind of made him stop and think. He didn't insult him. He just asked him a question. The guy actually stopped and thought about it. And obviously him stopping to think is to kind of let it sit so people at home who might not be conservative, but
It's almost an admission in and of itself
Like,
when the
so-
debate partner is spell stopped.
Go on ahead, Bank.
So the reason I liked it is not only that, is the fact that also, you also had a guy who came out and said, "I support Donald Trump," and you saw how immediately he was trying to be there, almost canceled off of TV. So I mean, I've always liked Tim Allen. I like the movie's done, but they said the show. Yeah, you said the show was fair and balanced as far as that.
Yep.
Unlike Fox is now. Fox is like so skewed so bad.
That's good choice, man.
Like I said, it was for those who are fans of the original Home Improvement show. You got the same kind of witty humor from Tim. He's just, instead of having 3 boys, he has 3 girls.
Yeah. Okay. LK number 16.
Okay, well, number 16, my show might be even a little more controversial than that. But I had to put down the greatest comedy set in a prisoner war camp of all time.
Okay.
And that is Hogan's Heroes. I know people are going to scoff, but it's so funny. It's a show that I, again, watched growing up because it was on reruns all the time and thought it was goofy. Had the opportunity to revisit it during COVID because both, amazingly, IFC and Sundance started running it because it was one of those shows that was actually filmed on film and in widescreen. And so, they were able to reformat it basically as a widescreen show. It looks beautiful. And they would do these marathons and, hey, with nothing else going on, I'd have it on during the day while I was working. And, and it's honestly an amazing show. Yes, it gets goofy at times, but there is just some amazing things going on, in the background in terms of, there are some really interesting, serious shows. They mixed in, real events from World War II in there. I mean, there's a great episode where Hogan and the crew have to do something to help, basically save D-Day. And the other thing too, as you start to watch it, is, people forget just how important a character Kinch was. And, he was the radio operator. He was the African-American. And as you watch the show, you realize he was the team strategist and he was Hogan's second in command. And he also had a great episode where he had to go and, help basically recruit a lounge singer, to bout, and, turned out they kind of had, this romance and what have you. And, he was a fantastic character. If you've never seen the show, it's definitely worth checking out. It's on MeTV, Monday through Friday. Now, I think around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And it's just a great show. And I couldn't not have it on my.
Okay. All righty. You're roboting a little bit, but let's move on. Eric, how about you? You're number 16.
Something that if he were here right now, he would say this about this stream ending in any decent length of time. We're not going to make it.
That's true. We might have to break this up.
24.
All right.
Some seasons were better than others, but God, we're talking about a man that kicked heroin in 3 hours. Even more impressively, when he came back from being in a POW camp for however freaking long, he got that beard off in less than 15 minutes. Anybody that's ever had to shave any kind of beard other than Venkman, I don't know how he does it. They don't come off that quick.
I use vision.
A couple of the seasons were just great. When George Mason flew the nuke off into the desert and sacrificed himself. It had some, it went from the ridiculous to the sublime, back to the ridiculous, sometimes in the same hour.
Everybody brings up the cougar in season 2.
Yeah, well, just because. Okay, now let's be honest. We were all rooting for the cougar.
Real, you know what? No, she was too hot. Elisha.
No.
What was her name? Cooper.
Kimberly. It doesn't matter. Sometimes annoying can trump hotness, and I wanted that cougar to maul the living daylights out of her.
Wait, annoying can trump hotness? So I have a pass then.
Could also call this the Jack Bauer Power Hour.
There you go.
Where was that
the
when we
original
needed
name. Yes. I remember I was telling my parents, they heard I was living with them at the time, and they heard the shooting and all that kind of stuff. They said, what are you watching? I said 24. And my dad looks and goes, my family are far left. And he goes, is that where Kiefer Sutherland's a fascist for 24 hours? I was like, okay. Yeah, I guess.
A bit.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun. It's a good show. I will recommend, if you binge it, watch an hour of it, or watch a season, and then step away for a week or so, and then go back to it, because it is every season has the first villain in the first 4 episodes, and that doesn't really count. It just sets up the real villain. In about episode 8, somebody betrays the counter-terrorist. Then in about episode 12, they bring in that secret character that's going to help everybody. So it does follow a formula for like.
I would recommend watching it with commercial breaks, because otherwise it's only 45 minutes, right, per episode.
There you go.
Yeah, but so you always wonder what happened in those 3 minutes, because when they come back, the clock would be 3 minutes later.
That toilet. Yeah. They went to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's like I said. Yeah, but didn't just one time in 8 years, didn't you want to see Jack go, I got to hit the head? It's
just like once. I think that would have been. I think that would have been just a great joke. The fact that he says something, he walks into the bathroom, and then when the commercial's over, he walks out.
It's something like that. You know, laughs were absolutely at a premium on this show.
Yeah,
I mean, there was never any
They
levity.
did do once where he did say something about, I'm going to go take a shower, and then at the end of the commercial break, he's coming out and he's putting a shirt on and all that. They did do that once.
It would have been great if when a main character got killed off during commercial break.
Oh my gosh, his head exploded. What are we getting? Yeah. All right, Dalton, number 16. What do you got?
My 16 is Ben 10 Ultimate Alien.
Green Lantern. Okay, talk about it.
No. Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. I had to put it on here because Ben 10 was an original superhero franchise that wasn't one of the big two, created by Men of Action in the early 2000s. And Ultimate Alien, I think, is where it peaked, because it got progressively more serious and more adult as it went on, and introduced more comic bookiness as it went on. And then Omniverse completely tanked it, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, some version of Ben 10 had to make it on the list somewhere, since, you know, my bottom 10 are all animated, and thus 16 is Ben 10 Ultimate Alien.
All righty.
Yeah, I approve. You know, Men of Action, Joe Casey, one of the guys involved in creating that, and still has to go toe to toe with Breen coming up on you know, some comic trivia. So
I'd almost forgotten that.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Joe Casey and I are going to debate the Korvac saga.
Yeah.
And Joe said,
I'm assuming the debate is it awesome or super awesome?
Well, I said Joe he said that he'll take either side, which tells me he's not taking it seriously.
Right. Okay, so let's get some. Let's see. Jackson changed networks. Supergirl changed networks. Remake Hogan's Heroes with Hulk Hogan.
Well, you know, dude.
That's the oldest joke under the sun. I think everyone has made a Hulk Hogan Heroes joke at some point.
We're talking about Chrononaut. We're talking about our 20 greatest TV shows of all time.
You should have a Karate Commandos with Chuck Norris on your list somewhere.
Number 15, Made in Abyss. You never know how much you need to cry. And there, okay. And yeah, the dude from Allstate made played the president on 24. I had to skip over some comments there. I apologize, guys. Obviously, super chats are highlighted. So, you know, just saying. All righty. My number 15. And I would like you to take note, especially LK, because I think he's the only other guy who really likes this show as much as I do. I would like you to take note that Star Trek, the original, was number 19. Okay? That being said, number 15 is 4-5 seasons of the best sci-fi comedy you will ever get. It's like a dramedy more than a comedy. And
The
it
Orville?
did Star Trek. Don't skip ahead. Fuck you. Don't skip ahead. It did Star Trek better than Star Trek. It is the Orville. Thank you very much. Like, I can't get there. Like, I don't know the show. Come on. No, anyway. Yeah, absolutely. Orville
I wish it was 4 seasons, but
it was only 3, right? No.
So
No, they
far
did.
it's been 2 or 3.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Didn't they do a season 4? I thought they did a season 4.
Yeah, I think they did. But this last one was so freaking good. My favorite, of course, my favorite episode of the last season, anyway, was goodness gracious, I had his name because he did Battle Hymn of the Republic on the Merv Griffin show. Blew my mind. The redheaded guy. He gets trapped in the past, and it takes forever in his time for the Orville to show up and rescue him. He got lonely. He steps into society. He finds a wife. He has kids. He's got a family, and he goes back, and they're like, "No, you. How could you possibly even think this is okay? You could change all sorts of time." And the way they dealt with it, it was so good, so emotional. The war between them and their Klingons, the war between, of course, the humans and the robots. This is such a good show. You can tell that Seth MacFarlane was such a fan of Star Trek, because even though he's making fun of some of the tropes, he does it with respect, and he makes sure
He actually wanted to be in charge of Star Trek Discovery, and they wouldn't let him. And so the Orville was his answer to, well, I want to do Star Trek, but I can't do Star Trek, so Orville.
I do have
like
a few
the new
modern
age of heroes of that then.
Right, yeah. I do have a few modern shows, but that is just an incredible show. It's like a great take on Star Trek. It's like the TV version of Galaxy Quest, but done better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. My buddy Eric Sister's in that Adrian Palicki. She's great.
Yeah,
Nice.
Adrian Palicki is pure eye candy. I mean, she can do her job. She can act, but holy Toledo.
Not necessary.
She should have been Wonder Woman.
Not
That's all I'm
necessary.
No, it's not necessary that she can act.
Right, I know.
I mean, it's just-
Yeah, she was going to be Wonder Woman. That show really did, by the way, suck.
Really liked her on the
yeah.
Dust of Dawn series. That was great
It
too.
said, I don't even remember which G.I. Joe movie it was, but when she's walking into the whatever government building in that red dress, that's it.
That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah,
All righty.
pretty much.
RDV, what do you have?
It's the first one because the other one doesn't exist.
What's
Good enough.
your number 15 there, RDV?
Oh, there's we're talking. There's so many to keep out of my head, so I'm constantly changing my list.
Yep.
That's fine. That's fine.
Number 15. He said this came to mind after you talking about Orville. Quantum Leap.
All righty. Cool.
The original Scott Bakula story. Oh man, no matter what, and that's another one of the shows. No matter what episode you watch, you didn't need to know what would happen because they kind of give you like a little, sometimes a preview of what happened in the last episode, or it'd be totally different. And it's just all.
Well, the title sequence was the explanation as to what's going on, so that helps probably.
Let him do the talking after he
So-
says his thing, because we got to keep.
I said it's one of those shows that I just discovered on TV by accident. You know, I remember I'm born '85. Joe and I we're the youngins of the group, along with the Dalton here. So a lot of these older shows, you know, we are discovering them a little later than you guys. We're watching live action.
Well, Dalton is literally the youngin of the show.
So Quantum Leap,
Yeah,
though.
just turned 28 in July. So yeah.
I figured with Courage the Cowardly Dog is one of your
Courage is
you're
awesome.
probably
Shut
younger
up.
than me. I like it. I'm just saying I figured you were younger.
So Quantum Leap, like I said, Scott Bakula discovered him on there, and this is an incredible actor. This is a guy who should have had more roles other than just his Quantum Leap series. Obviously, I still believe personally that Quantum Leap was his big hurrah. After that, he was kind of like here or there.
Yeah, he shows up in a few things.
Yeah, he was in Rob's favorite movie, Clever Night.
That movie sucks, by the way. It's not a good film.
There's an extended scene where he gets killed.
Just for never mind. I agree with you. Quantum Leap was a great individual episode show.
very ahead of its time by pushing boundaries. He's leaping into women's bodies, so he's in drag in some of the episodes.
That was used as a joke, though. I don't think it would be made. I didn't see the remake, by the way.
No, I didn't see the remake here, but that was interesting because like that's got to. I mean, it was more of a serious thing, but also kind of funny at the same time too. But like, there's one where he jumps into a 16-year-old pregnant girl and he goes into labor. It's like it's meant to be taken serious, But if you're not watching it, I could see the humor in that. You're like, well, this sounds kind of dumb. It was interesting because the fact, I'm always wondering, well, what happened to the people? Well, they went back to his place in the future and they switched back. But you got. Who was the guy who played Al? Was it Dean Stockton or who was the guy?
Stockwell.
Stockwell. Phenomenal actor. I love the exchange between the two. And Al is always like, well, according to my notes here, and he's got the scar. He's like, stop. He's like, tell him. He's like, let me know what's going on. And like, and there's always a grim thing where he's like, well, if you don't do this, you're gonna mess up history. Worse. You're stuck here.
And it's always, if you don't do it, he's gonna die. Yeah.
Yeah. Zaggy says you've got a 78.9% chance that such and such will happen. Yeah.
Like, and he's always wearing the Hawaiian shirts, different things. It's like Angleton with his cigar every time I see him. He just pops up and he's like, here you go.
All righty, LK. What about you? What's your number 15?
I'll just say quickly with Quantum Leap. It didn't quite make my list. It was one I thought of. I love the show. I watched it when it was on NBC originally. And I look back on it now in terms of just how fearless they were in terms of the stories that they would tell. I still remember the one where he, leaps into the kid with Down syndrome and how well that story was told and, kind of, the effects and how he navigated that. It was just really well done. And of course, I also remember too the final episode.
The Lee Hart. We'll get to that
closer.
All righty, LK, your number 15.
Yeah, my number 15. It's probably going to be. I'm the only one that probably has the show on there. I'm probably the only one who watched it. But it's one of the best spy espionage shows that's ever been on television. It is a British show. That first came across the shores here. It was shown on BBC America back when BBC America actually bothered to show British TV shows, which is a whole other thing. In the UK, it's called Spooks. Here, it was known as MI5.
There's a reason for that.
And it was a fantastic, gritty, realistic espionage show focused on the branch of MI5, which is the internal. Spy or espionage security apparatus in the UK. So they're focused on threats within the country. And it was just so well done. Peter Firth was the head of MI5, Harry Pierce, I think it was. And, again, it was one of those shows, too, where you didn't necessarily know from episode to episode if the lead characters were the episode. And there were multiple times where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. It's a fantastic show. It's worth checking out if you like spy stuff, but you like kind of the psychological, or not psychological, but the thriller, kind of less actiony spy stuff. It's just a really excellent show.
The cloak and dagger part of it rather than the punching and shooting.
Yeah. But there was plenty of that too, but the focus was definitely on the cerebral side.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Let's see. Since Englentine isn't here, we want to keep this going. Eric?
Green?
Take over, LK. Take over.
Well, somebody's got to. Oh, there he is.
Well, wow. You look at the clock, it said 3 minutes later.
Are we on Eric yet?
Number 15.
Yeah,
number 15.
And I blame the Geeky Puppet Show for turning me into a ham. Number 15. Songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like us,
we had it made.
Those were the days.
See, you look like a ham. You more look like a turkey.
Well, I do have that, which I'd love to get rid of, but that's for another time.
I didn't think Archie's Bunker's place was going to be so high on your list. But
Yeah, right.
Well, that
Actually,
I'm a big fan of Martin Balsam ever since he got knocked down the stairs in Psycho. Now this show, I mean, it was also based on a British show, Man of the House. But it was
Man About the House.
Man About the House. That was Man of the House. Oh, well,
Man About the House.
I'm not going to argue with a walking do whatever they.
Actually, no. We're both wrong because Man About the House was Three's Company. Never mind.
And Dalton, only dresses like an Undertaker because he wants first dibs on me in case I croak off in one of these streams because given my advanced age. All in the family.
Who else am I going to practice necromancy on, Eric? I want to keep you around a while.
All in the family.
Eric, can I have your trading cards?
Yeah. So, the premise at the time was really risky for network television. Basically, it was a show that starred a bigot, but they gave the Archie character so much more depth that you realize that yes, his views were archaic, but he was actually a good man that would do the right thing, even to people that he didn't. That he might have felt himself superior to, but if someone needed help, he was there. And they could, some of the episodes were just beyond hysterical, but when they needed to get serious, like when Edith, the rape episode, they could do drama. And I remember an episode where Mike and Archie were in the basement and there was no heat and they basically had to talk to each other for the first time ever. And Archie told them the story about putting the shoes on, and they argued over, do you put your both socks on, then the shoes, or one shoe, then and Archie, it said, well, basically when he was young, he was so poor, he didn't have two shoes. He had one shoe and one boot, and the kids, would pick on him, called him Shoe Booty. And at the end, when they fell asleep, like Mike kissed him on the forehead and in a loving way said, "Good night, Shoe Booty." And it's just, you realize that those characters who had just fought like cats and dogs for years, come together. It's just a great show. I mean,
my favorite was the pretzel. He does a nice thing for Mike. He gets him a pretzel, and the first thing Mike does is put mustard across it. Hey, why are you gonna? And he starts arguing. Why are you gonna ruin a pretzel? I was on Mike's side on this one. Sorry, pretzel. Dalton, how about you? What's your number 15?
Animaniacs.
It's time for Animaniacs.
And
all right.
the reason is, and by the way, I mean the original run of Animaniacs.
Of course, I kind of figured it wasn't.
I don't hate the modern reboot. It's certainly one of the better of modern reboots, but they hyper focus on the political commentary so hard that it gets overbearing in the new one. But
gotcha.
The thing is, not only is it a time capsule of the 90s, not only is it actually prescient in the way the modern one simply isn't, but it also manages to recapture the original Looney Tunes style of comedy. And prior to something like Animaniacs, that was recapturing that classic Tom and Jerry / Looney Tunes style of comedy was not something most people, I think, thought they could do with any other characters but the original Looney Tunes. So yeah, definitely deserves to be on the list.
Well, you also brought back the voice actor from Real Ghostbusters. You brought back the guy who played Egon, Maurice March, I think his name is, who plays the Brain.
Maurice LaMarche has been in so many things, Venkman. I don't want to nerd-splain you, my dude, but Maurice LaMarche is everywhere as well. He deserves to be.
What is your favorite Animaniacs side character or story, ongoing or reoccurring character?
I mean, obviously, and you may chamber your jokes now, have a soft spot for the Brain. But it's really,
kind of like calling a fat guy tiny.
It
took him a little while.
What I am going to do tonight is think of ways to murder Eglinton.
All righty.
but that's neither here nor there. But the main trio, the actual Warner siblings, are the stars of the show, and for good reason. Almost to the point where if Warner Brothers was smart, they would use the Warner siblings as mascots in the same way they used Bugs Bunny for all those years. Yeah. But they're not smart enough to put 2 and 2 together and get 4, I guess.
The time to do that was when the show was starting and gaining popularity. I think that window is probably
the ship has well and truly sailed. I'm just saying that they're called the Warner siblings, and the lore of Warner Brothers itself, albeit Roger Rabbitized, is key to their lore. So like, why wouldn't you? But
my favorite side character is, well, he wears disguise that look like human guys.
Chickaboo,
Chickaboo.
And
he'd always he's got these girls, they're like, oh, look at my new date, and she's like, you're a giant chicken, you lied to me.
You'll never hear me do it, but with Gail, I'll go, okay, love you, bye.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
And
that is stuck with me all throughout that. All righty.
And Slappy too. And Sassy or Slappy? What was it called?
Slappy the Squirrel.
Yeah.
All in Family was
and Slappy. The good feathers, that was another good bit. I was just going to make a terrible joke before we end that about I found Chicken Boo to be beguiling.
Okay, so Maranya says favorite main character is Wacko, though Yakko is growing on me. Side character, Pinky in the Brain, Slappy Squirrel, and Boo the Chicken. All righty, my let's see, my
14.
Number 14. All righty. Look, we're all human. We are. Occasionally we make mistakes. Occasionally we wrong people really bad. So you should make a list and go around correcting all those wrongs. I think My Name is Earl is one of the funniest freaking shows ever put on television.
Jamie Presley too.
She's hot as hell, man. Yeah. You're right about that. Oh, snappity snap snap. I love it. Towards one of the last shows, she goes to court and she's made to take these drugs that would calm her down. And she's like, oh, everything's so sweet and everything. And their neighbors move their trailer way too close, and then one throws paper through the window and it lands in her son's hair. And she goes, oh, snappity snap snap. Hey, look, I'm on these happy pills, but thing is, I'm going to stop them because I want all my 100% of anger, because when that's done, I'm going to come in. I'm going to, she just goes off on them with the happiest tone. But no, it's got some great characters, really well-written, drawn out, full-fledged characters here.
Mallrats in there too, right?
That they really do understand. That's what you need. If you connect with the characters, you connect with the funny shit that was happening to them. They had 3 episodes where it was their county on Cops. Funny as fuck. That's the only time I actually ever enjoyed Cops. It's just hands down. I loved it. There was a scene actually. The girl in it. By the way, the girl in My Name is Earl gets naked in that movie Flight with Denzel Washington right at the beginning. So you gotta stick with it, and then okay. You can nope out after that, but you definitely want to be there for that. But there's a scene. She plays an illegal immigrant. She works at the hotel that Earl and his brother stay at, and there's one where she gets mad at Earl. She gets mad at his brother, and she starts screaming in Spanish, just screaming in Spanish. But what she's really saying is, to all our Spanish-speaking viewers, I'd like to thank you for staying around and giving us your time, and we hope that we entertain you well enough to deserve it for next week as well. And those are just it's just that kind of humor. The best joke one thing I always talk about with my daughters is they go to this crab shack, and one time Darnell, this black guy that works there, he's explaining, well, you see this, and he holds up a crab and it's big and beautiful. He goes, this is what you get when you go to the trucks at 4 a.m. Most of your high-end restaurants, your hotels and so forth come to this. And he works it all the way down, and he picks up this crab. It's got one claw. It's about this big. And this is when I get my lazy ass up at noon. Okay, anyway, it's a funny show. Trust me. Yeah. All righty. RDV. And hello to Dominic, but RDV, what is your number 14?
My number 14 is another one I added to the list because I just, as we go by, I'm like, wait, I need to add this show.
How did I miss that? Yep.
How did I not? So it's like, and it not even shows you guys are even mentioning. It just shows that I was like, it's like Joe popping on. I'm like, how did I forget this one? And that's why it's my number pick. Number 14 is Doctor Who. All right. But see, I haven't watched the original one, so I'm going based off from 2006 to all the way up to quality. That's.
Oh wait! Did he went silent? Did somebody start talking about Doctor Who? I don't. I'm just.
I'm sorry, I nodded off.
Go on ahead, man.
Did I hit the end stream button by accident?
Get caught up, Venkman, is all I'm gonna say.
StreamYard started to hear you talk about the modern Doctor Who and decided to cut you off.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, because I enjoy Eccleston all the way up to Capaldi. I've tried watching the other ones. I just got to get into them.
Okay, now the obvious question: which of the new Who Doctors is your favorite then?
I do like Matt Smith, but it's always gonna be Tennant. I just feel like he has the natural acting talent over all of them. Although Capaldi was actually pretty good for his character, but I always thought that's kind of weird. It's like the Doctor took on a phase of a previous character that was in one of the another episode. So I was like, okay. But Tennant, though, he's proven, I mean, just even outside of Doctor Who, you see him on Broadchurch, you see him on Jessica Jones. The guy has phenomenal acting range, and I never thought I'd ever want to watch DuckTales until Tennant was Scrooge McDuck.
Cast of Scrooge. Yeah.
There was that really good The Warriors DuckTales episode from that run.
Yep.
I have to tell you, and this is a controversial Doctor Who opinion among especially new Whovians, but I always found Ten annoying. Like I was one of the few people who, when he was doing his dramatic "I don't want to go" speech, I was like, "Go already! You already had a false start regeneration. You wasted one, so go, Eric, so I can get a new doctor."
See, Eric, Doctor Who annoying? Is that a way off to far-fetched idea? I find it to be even keel.
Not the show, the specific incarnation of the Doctor, which was the 10th Doctor played by David Tennant. I was
going to say, yeah, Dalton and Venkman, if I wanted to be bored with Doctor Who talk, I could always show up 2 nights from now.
I knew you were going to show
the man with the freakishly long fingers and his sometimes guest Joe Corallo.
Well, I think Joe's on every Friday except for one out of the month.
Oh, there you go.
and I'm sure you all don't have to guess who my favorite Doctor is, given how often I wear a bow tie, which is cool.
I'm just gonna say this. It was my first kind of watching British television. You know, I'd watched like Red Dwarf before this, and maybe parts of Mr. Bean.
All right.
So getting into this show, and I said David Tennant is going. I don't like Eccleston, maybe because he only had 1 season, but Tennant was doing the thing. He's basically was one of those guys. He's a know-it-all. He's like, I know what I'm doing, and he goes the wrong direction. And I just laugh at that every single time I see somebody.
Okay, so
God, this
more
is lasting
Doctor
longer
Who
than
talk,
Doctor
join
Who.
them on whatever channel they're talking about. Otherwise, LK, what's your 14?
No respect.
My number 14 is basically the show that did reaction videos before we knew what reaction videos were, and that is Mystery Science Theater 3000.
All right.
Respect.
It hit me at the perfect time when I was in college. Fantastic show. I've probably seen every episode multiple times. When you actually look at what they do, I mean, some of the skits were amazing. And of course, especially the year or two, where I was away at college and, couldn't get home to Thanksgiving. The Thanksgiving Day marathons were a great comfort when you're, all alone on a Thanksgiving. And the skits in between with Mike Nelson doing Jack Perkins from A&E, and it's just a fantastic show. And you look at kind of what these guys have done, since in terms of the comedic jobs they have. It's a fantastic show.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Eric?
I'm going to go with House of Cards.
Okay, some political theater.
Yeah, the first now the caveat is, I think season 1 of House of Cards or season 2 of Justified are maybe the best 2 seasons of television I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make it to the end of House of Cards because it lost the plot before they even kicked Kevin Spacey off the show. But the first 3 seasons, especially what the Underwoods do to Peter Russo in the first season, is just, I mean, it's just chilling how they pull that off. It's, like I said, it was a flawless season. And the first 3, if it had just ended there, I'd have been fine, because I said after that it started going downhill quick, and then like I said by the 5th season I think I was gone. But yeah, House of Cards, brilliant first couple seasons.
Alrighty. Never saw it. Never saw an episode. That's another one of those great shows I keep hearing about, never watched.
Oh, he had help leaving, Venk.
Oh, I thought he was going after Little Rhaegar.
How about you, Dalton, number 14? What do you have for us?
The show I keep trying to get you to watch that you still haven't watched, Gargoyles. It was Disney's attempt to do a very dark 90s action cartoon, and it was on par with some of what Paul Dini and Bruce Timm were doing. The only reason it's lower than the DC animated universe is because it did have one semi-non-canonical season, which was absolute crap after the main showrunner and writer left. But I'm not holding that as much against it, because from what I hear, they're planning on bringing those people back and having them continue the original continuity. So,
if Greg Rising, he left the original. He was a creator, wasn't he? I know he. I never he left the series.
of the original Gargoyles, I believe so. If I'm not mistaken.
So I hope it doesn't go the way of Young Justice. They came back.
All right, and hello to Dominic, who jumped in about 3 hours ago. But what's up?
Evening, everybody. And also to answer your question, yeah, Greg Weisman, he did create Gargoyle, so it is his baby. And also, what's a fact about him that people forget sometimes, that he actually started out in comic books before he transitioned to animation.
Okay.
Which would explain why Gargoyles is so uncomparably badass.
Let me get some comments here. Maranya saying the lead for My Name is Earl was Dave in the Chipmunks movie, and also with Underdog. Yes, he was. Let's see, Crabman was the best. Those anthology sci-fi thriller shows like Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Tales from the Crypt, and so on. Number 14 for Dark Admiral was Batman the Animated Series. Only modern Who I like is Tennant, classic Tom Baker all the way. Others, they're oatmeal without any kind of flavoring. That's how I feel about the whole show. I mean, God bless you guys for liking it. And I joke about it, but this is something my brothers tried to get me into Doctor Who for 50 years. It ain't happening, guys. Go forth, have fun. But it's just not my bag, baby.
Yes, it was Modern Who that got me into it, because I tried watching the original stuff before and I couldn't get into it. So when they came out in 2006,
you know what? I'll send you some recap videos so you can get caught up without having to necessarily watch everything.
All righty. Let's see. Going back around to, what are we on? Number 13. Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Obviously a lot of mine are comedies. These are because these are the ones that I could just go back to and watch. You don't really have to throw a lot into, but they're so much fun, so entertaining, and there's something extra to Happy Days, though. I mentioned my age a couple of times for other shows, and you got to understand, being a 5 to 10-year-old in the 1970s, how influential Henry Winkler was as the Fonz. I think the only person who really could understand that beyond me is Eric, because he lived through the phenomenon of how fucking big the Fonz was.
Thank you for not saying I lived through the originals.
Very influential.
Yeah,
you jump shark on a
Yeah,
motorcycle?
no. Let me tell you something. That's exactly right. In the 1970s, he jumped over a shark, and that was so influential. It made a freaking meme, a saying, everything. 50 years later. No, seriously, this was
Point.
Go on ahead, Eric.
No, that's it. And don't forget, like I said, I watched the Happy Days reunion show, and Gary Marshall said, "Yeah, we coined the term. Yeah, that coined the term jumping the shark, but we did over 100 episodes after that."
That's true.
So
hey, they survived. They survived years after Ted McGinley came on the show.
They survived jumping the shark.
Exactly.
They did.
But
and you know what though? It's a pretty crowded stream. I know I'm a bit extra here, so I'm going to do a Chuck Cunningham, and I'm gonna bow out so you guys can enjoy.
Dude,
but thanks so much for having
just
me.
for that reference, by the way, you
already didn't
anytime.
exist.
We have to talk about some. Yeah, that is
Sure,
an awesome.
absolutely.
Reference.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks
always
again
welcome,
for having me. Enjoy.
It's
Have
it,
fun.
Joe.
Good seeing you, Joe.
Yeah.
Later, Joe.
Congrats on the gig.
Okay, but one thing not a lot of younger people know is this show really started off about a family. Richard Cunningham was the main character. It was really about the Cunninghams, not about the Fonz. Of course, he was the character that really took off, and it became more about the Fonz and Richie than and Potsy and Mouth than it was about the family itself. One thing I really wish they would have steered into, I watched the episode again where Fonz meets his dad. I really wish they would have mentioned how Howard Cunningham from the very beginning kind of adopts Arthur Fonzarelli. It's hard to another thing that's hard to realize is that Arthur Fonzarelli is supposed to be like 1920. I mean, obviously he's played by 90-year-old Henry Winkler 50 years ago, but it's just such a great show. We talk about and Maranya brought this up with when we were talking about Andy Griffith. It's got great values, and it really understood how young kids were watching this show. At one point in time, the Fonz went and got a library card, and that week, millions of kids went out and got library cards. My parents already got us some, but definitely
Mass literacy for the win.
Yeah, it was just that kind of show, and the fact that it was funny to boot. Yeah, it definitely.
Well, you were right about what you said about the Fonz, because I still most recognizable television character in history is the Fonz. I don't think there are millions of people. I bet 90% of kids today, they may never have seen an episode of Happy Days. They may never see one, but they've heard of the Fonz, and they would recognize a picture if they saw it.
Yeah.
I will submit myself as Exhibit A for your theory there, Eric, because of course I was born in '95 and I still know who the Fonz.
And the thing is this is a character that will live far beyond Henry Winkler. Mm-hmm. And if they decided that they wanted to do an animated show like they did, by the way, Happy Days in Outer Space, I kid you not, that was a cartoon. Oh, yeah. They could, and they could keep this character going. But yeah, I would not want anybody else to play him though. It's Henry Winkler.
I'm waiting for the CW reboot. Where it's a
yeah.
Venkman, do not give them any ideas.
And I don't have to.
And it's not just the Fonz, and it's not just Richie. I really did like the family. I really did like Tom Bosley as Arthur Cunningham, not Arthur, Howard Cunningham. Potsy and Mouth were great foils for damn near everything. One of the best shows, actually, a Ralph Mouth centric episode is when he likes this girl, so he agrees to box the ex-boyfriend.
You know who that was, don't you?
No.
Captain America.
Oh, Reb Smith or whatever.
Reb Brown.
There you go. Okay,
nice.
Okay, that's pretty cool. All righty, but Happy Days, incredible show. My number 13. RDV, what do you got?
All right, for number 13, well, I'm going with a guy who's been around. He's been an actor. He started off actor, and then he had his own singing career in the 80s.
Sid Caesar.
And then he's appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's just still going strong. It stars the Hoff and his Knight Rider.
All right.
Just one of those shows that had the perfect cast. He had the cool car. You had the car that talked. You know, for those of us who are younger, we know as Mr. Feeney, his kid. We don't know Miss Kid. We just know him as Mr. Feeney. But I mean, going back, Netflix apparently got the rights last year or so. So I watched through all the seasons, and it's just a fun show. Now, Night 2000, Night Rider 2000, that's a different story. But overall, I said the guy, you know, it's one of those cool things. You know, like he basically inherited this fortune, got this cool car, and can do all this different tricks stuff. Every week, every episode, he's got a different hot girl. Man was living the dream.
Oh, I remember watching it like it was the only show on TV in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's not, when I went back to it, there was one of those shows that to me, it was like, okay. But there you go. Let me get some comments and then we'll move on to LK. Let's see. Ed Brewer saying that show jumped the shark literally. Original Who was actually a children's program, says Maranya. With that kind of budget, it got serious and it went on. My sister's a Whovian. I can't do it, says Darka. I only watched a little for the hot lady that played Nebula.
Oh, Karen, who played Amy
Yep.
Pond. I
Happy Day.
miss the Pond.
Karen
Great
Gillian.
until it became the Fonzie show. I had a Fonzie t-shirt. And his leather jacket is in the Smithsonian. And my leather jacket got torn apart and then thrown away. Jenny Piccolo actually showing up on the Phil the show was a letdown. Phil Silver's daughter, and Silver's played her dad. Oh, that's right. Tom Hanks was a bully in this one. He what it was Arthur Fonzarelli bullied him. He came back and he had learned karate and he was going to fight the Fonz.
Bullied Richie, yeah.
Yep. Marion Cunningham adopted Fonzie officially. She was the only one who could call him Arthur. And also when she scolded him, he listened. Yeah, there was that episode. He goes, sit on it. And he did the whole, if you were any other person. But the thing is he actually respected both Marion and Howard. And I did like that. Amazing series, Happy Days. Amazing series, Happy Days. Enjoyed watching it here in Australia, says to Helium. Happy Days spun off a lot of other shows like Laverne and Shirley and Mork and Mindy.
Johnny Loves Chachi and Blansky's Beauties. It lasted about 3.5 episodes.
There you go.
Wait,
hey,
Mork
Lindsay,
and
what's
Mindy
up?
was...
So where would you put Columbo or dude? Don't jump ahead. Don't jump ahead. I mean, if that's on a list.
No, I was just asking. That was the Happy Days spinoff. I didn't know that.
Mork arrived and he went back in time to Milwaukee and had like a zap off with his Fonzie's
it was
thumb
the versus the finger. Yeah.
And
All
that
right.
led to the show.
LK, what you got for us? Number 13.
Well, again, I'm going to have a show probably nobody else has on here, but I could not have it on the list because, again, just like you were talking about Happy Days, I think people today, especially with, what late night television has turned into, don't remember the impact that the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson had on America.
Oh, good choice.
He was America's host, and there are thousands of classic moments. And people talk about his monologues and a lot of the famous, obviously all the famous people he had on there. But one of the amazing things and one of the gifts that Johnny had was when he would a regular person, because there was some news item or some quirky thing. The way he was able to make them feel at home and give them the attention none of today's hosts have. Yeah. And people forget too that how great the skits were, that he would, he would come up with. And of course, he had one of the classiest, exits of all time. That his final episode, that final season, when basically NBC pushed him out, he said, no, I'm going to leave instead of having you guys, screw me over, which is, a great HBO movie, The Late Show.
Yeah.
Just claps all the way. And of course now, thanks to, Pluto has a Johnny Carson channel on now that you can watch classic episodes again. But it's funny. One of the things too that people don't remember was Johnny was the production company behind his Tonight Show. So he owns all of the episodes. And I remember as a kid on I think it was like Saturday nights. There was a syndicated Carson Follies. That was a half hour of classic Carson skits and classic Carson moments, and that was how, you know, kids my generation who weren't staying up till 11:30 watched Johnny Carson first, you know, got to learn of Johnny Carson and see how funny he was.
Well,
by the way, speaking of Pluto TV, they have an entire MST3K channel.
Oh, I know.
That was also on
so
there.
we're getting Johnny Was the Man, great interviewer. I was named after his drunk sidekick, says Ed Brewer. Karnak the Magnificent was one of his best routines. Sadly, a lot of the earlier seasons, their tapes were wiped. Carson was king, says Dark Admiral. They've all had imitators since. Love when he had Dangerfield. I like the Robin Williams because he understood that he was the host. The real show was the people next to him. He kept it in control, but he would let them go if they needed to go.
Dean Martin break Sinatra at the same time, and Dean Martin's like, I need another drink. He's like, how many you had? Frank's like, he's like, I don't know.
All right. And Jim is saying his 13 is the Tick, the animated version, which is in my top 100. That being said, let's go on over to Mr. Eric.
Okay,
what is your 13?
Okay. How did Johnny Carson let a comedian know that he liked him?
Oh, when he invited him over to sit down.
There you go.
David Spade missed it. I saw an interview with him. He goes, my first thing, I was so nervous. I turned around, I walked out, and I didn't see that Johnny Carson was there going, you know, waving him over. So they actually pushed him out of the curtain.
I can't imagine just how, you know, because eventually you had to know that, and not getting asked over just had to be, that's like a crusher for people. But anyway.
What's your 13, sir?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay. 12-year-old girl in the house.
Really thought about putting that on the list, but
good show.
The only reason why I watched it initially was even more 12-year-old girlish. Sarah Michelle Gellar was playing Erica Kane's sister on All My Children. That's where I first saw her.
And after that, you transitioned.
Hey, you leave Buffy alone. Although I have my gay card to shield me. I don't know what you have there.
They're the queen of the carousel.
Say again.
Nothing.
Okay, I'm just kidding. Go on ahead, man.
And if I know people from certain things that I like, I will follow them or at least give whatever they do next a shot. So she's on there, and I had no intention of watching more than the first episode. Again, this is kind of witty. Now, and keep in mind, this is before a generation of writers have run Weed and Speak into the ground. It was new. It was fresh, and it had the kids, and then the adult, the adult in the room, and Giles, and just a lot of the think the double meanings of the show. We all know what they all meant and blah blah blah, but it was just a very well done show, and so I said it, and it didn't hurt that it had there's never any shortage of really pretty girls on there either. But
wow, yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah,
you're not wrong.
But apparently
better than others, but still, I said overall, I really liked it.
Fantastic show, fantastic cast. The fact that the whole fact this is based off a movie that came out before, and they changed it a little bit, but they kept it to kind of the same humor.
Well, the movie was supposed to be what the TV show was, but the studio wanted more comedy, and you know how studio just kind of ate away at it, and then he got the chance to make the show he wanted to.
They basically blue-balled Joss Whedon, and I bet to this day the person who made the choice to blue-ball Joss Whedon on the movie was like, why didn't we do it the way Joss wanted us to do it?
Are you blue ball or black ball?
I don't know, but it would have been great to have Paul Rubens, his vampire character, show up still.
Kill him a lot. Yeah, like at the end of every episode.
The episode with the gentleman. I defy you to find me a creepier, group of baddies.
The one I like.
Oh, you mean Hush?
John Ritter.
Yeah, remember the floating, just creepy dudes that called the gentlemen?
Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
That's
yep,
what
more importantly, I just want to say quickly too. I mean, one of the great things about Buffy was, just like Star Trek: The Original Series, it took, serious issues or, topics, but, used in this case, the supernatural aspect to address them and talk about it. And also had some of the best themed episodes. The one that Eric was talking about was the silence episode. Where near
that a picture of me?
Entire episode, nobody talked. And of course, it had a fantastic musical episode that actually meant something.
God, I love Once More Feeling so much.
Revelation in the story. So yeah, it was a great show. The latter seasons kind of fell apart, but
I just felt bad for Xander. He was friend zoned the whole entire time.
He got with Anya.
And he got Cordelia in that.
Yes, but that whole first season's like, man.
Okay, Dalton, number 13.
My 13 is Netflix's Castlevania.
All right.
Because God, is that show so good, both as an adaptation of the video game, which in and of itself is a freaking miracle, given we're still mostly in the throes of the video game curse, but also as a piece of world building in its own right, it's freaking amazing. As a piece of writing and character in its own right, it's freaking amazing. And as someone who is interested in occultism and philosophy, the fact that they based the magic system on the actual historical Neoplatonic and Hermetic magic system of the period that the show is set in is just chef's kiss. And the fact that the best characters are the most three-dimensional characters are actually the villains. It's just like every villain character is almost Zuko level from, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that's freaking hard to do, especially given that one of the characters, Isaac, was my least favorite character in season 2. By the end of season 3, he was my favorite character. So, God, that show's amazing.
Yeah. Well, Dalton, I'll tell you, you have Warren Ellis to thank for that. He basically has the script credits for the entire series.
Oh yeah, it was his baby. It was absolutely his baby, and I'm glad he got it.
That being said, real quickly, have you seen Nocturne?
Is so bad.
Nocturne is like, what the hell? It's like it just kicked me in the balls repeatedly. I watched 4 episodes, and while LK was watching One Piece, I'm like, you had the better experience.
Okay. Nocturne, yes, there was a downgrade in quality. I don't think it was over the top a downgrade.
Okay.
I was so worried about it, and my worries weren't as founded as I was worried they would be. So, yeah.
Getting to number 12, I am expecting some blowback on this one because a lot of people
blow you at all.
A lot of people stopped. Gosh, Gail's talked to you, hasn't she? All right. So, anywho,
I don't like to say like that.
A lot of people stopped watching this show at season 6, and this is when I actually said out loud, people are going to stop watching this show because this storyline is going to take 2 seasons. And sure enough, as soon as they had this bad, and I agree it was a bad cliffhanger, people stopped watching. I kept going, and this shit got really freaking good again. And I'm talking about The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead was awesome. And I know a lot of what gets me is a lot of the complaints was solved by streaming. Like, oh my gosh, the farm is taking too long. Well, now that you're watching it on streaming, it goes by really quick because you're watching it back to back rather than waiting week to week. And not only week to week, but okay, now we're going to take a hiatus and we're going to wait 4 months for the show. It's a good adaptation of the comic book. And by that, I mean, it is panel for panel where it needs to be, but it also takes its own turn. Characters that were killed in the books survive in the TV show. Daryl Dixon is a completely new character, and he became a fan favorite. They took storylines, realized where you can't do it. This would not work as a TV show. Things that we look at in comics, they sometimes just would not translate well, and they understood where to change that. The later seasons were just fan freaking tastic. I actually liked the way that that it just kind of left it going. And the modern day take on this a lot better than I do the closing of the actual series, which kind of was like the Waltons with zombies. But yeah, it was just a very, very solid TV show. I'm not going to say it didn't have its weaknesses, but once again, it's solved by streaming. You don't like those character episodes that they did this big zombie battle so they could only afford one guy talking to another guy. So they did an entire episode of that. If you don't like that, skip it. Get back to the story. Yeah, so all the problems of the show is actually solved by the streaming. Go on ahead, RDV. It looks like you got.
Yeah, so I watched this show up to the third season. I get angry at a certain thing that happens of a character death, and I was like, okay, I'd never read the comics, but then I saw it was on streaming, so I watched all the way up through season 7, and then they just Negan, and then so I watched it live with the Negan Wars and stuff, and I gotta say it was kind of drawn out a little bit. You know, I was like, man, because I never read the book. Until season 10, I quickly read all the compendiums so I could catch up. So and then as soon as I read that, I was like, there's certain scenes I'm like, oh, I love this, and I'm like, wait, that was horrible. Why'd you do this to this character? But honestly, it is one of those shows that I didn't think I'd ever go back and watch because I don't care what people say online. People bitch about everything on Twitter, and like I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
so I heard that Elon Musk changed the name Twitter to LK.
I thought it was LXK, but anyway, no, it's a very fun show, and I'm really enjoying the spinoffs. I was like, oh, am I gonna do this? It's like the Gerald Dixon show. It takes place in France. You're like, well, how does it get in France? Who gives a shit? It's in France. There's new zombies. With different,
it's been good so far.
Oh, it's been fun.
Do the zombies go? Oh,
no. These are acids. These are acid zombies. You touch them, you get burned. You can't even kill them normally like you could before. They are more of a threat, which I missed in the original series because, well, just like the comics, the zombies were less the threat. It was the freaking people.
Yeah, the people became more of a threat.
Which is realistic.
Yeah.
There's always
How about you,
VENKMAN?
What is your what's your number?
12? Well, we're gonna go to an Amazon show. I love the show, and then until I found out that the actor's a complete douchebag. This is Reacher.
All righty,
phenomenal show. What's that?
Finding out that the actor is a total douche.
Yeah, it was.
If that was a deal breaker, I would never watch a Sean Penn movie.
Yeah. Well, that's
well, that's not a deal breaker for me because I've never watched a Sean Penn movie.
But yeah, Reacher's actually kind of cool. Please, by all means.
So Reacher, we all know like either you love or you hate the Jack Reacher movies with Tom Cruise. But I was like, I never read the books, so I did some research on it, and I found out, oh wait, Reacher is supposed to be like this big, and he's not supposed to be Tom Cruise size at all.
Yeah.
So when I read that, I was like, wow, that's really crazy. And then you get to see Alan Richardson, who just left Titans, to go on there. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. He's leaving the show. You know, he's gonna go into something better and get paid more probably. And I couldn't believe how that was like right down the middle. It wasn't like we're used to so many shows, or like Titans or some of these other left leaning shows. It's like they forget the properties or source and the material, and like Witcher, and they try to change it so much to the point where like I don't even care the fact it's political. I just the fact that it's just an insult to the fans who love it. Yeah. It's so Reacher is one of those shows. It's straight up action. He's in there in a little zip tie. He's like, okay, you gotta handcuff me, and he's like, and then he just breaks him. He's like, because the cuffs are too big for his hand. Like, yeah, the cuffs are too big for his wrist. So they zip tie. He's like, he just breaks it. He's like, yeah, I could. He's like, you could escape when you wanted to. He's like, yeah, but I didn't want to. And I don't want, I don't want to insult you guys.
There's this one scene where he gets arrested and he's talking to the cop, and the cop says, "Okay, strip down." He goes, "I'm not going to, and you can't make me. How hurt are you gonna get?" And yeah, I did like that. That is a pretty good show.
And all the way through is like, I don't think there was a bad episode.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So
you got me onto that show too.
You're pretty jacked. Really? No. and the guy is Jack for anybody else.
Yeah.
All righty, LK.
Okay, my number 12 is kind of related to a couple of prior shows in the sense of it started out as a parody of something and then evolved into something much greater with the story and was related to my number 13. And my number 12 is The Larry Sanders Show.
All righty.
Started out, basically the first episodes, were kind of a parody of late night television, specifically like The Tonight Show. But then it just evolves into this amazing comedy that, was probably, if it wasn't HBO's first huge hit, it was certainly one of those that got a lot of notoriety where after in the, second and third seasons, anybody who was in Hollywood wanted to pop up either as a guest on, on one of the fake episodes or as a guest star in the series. Gary Shandling is fantastic as the neurotic late night TV show host. Hank, and just so many great moments. Rip Torn, basically is the producer behind the scenes. You also had fantastic writers that kind of got their break on the show and then have spun off and done other great things. It's just amazing stuff. I mean, I still remember, Hank with his restaurant plans of having the ground level revolving restaurant.
I remember when this came out, it was a funny show. Gary Shandling was doing pretty damn well for himself because he also had the Gary Shandling show, right? But this is the theme to Gary.
Well, he had that show. He had that show prior, and then this came out afterwards.
All right, before we go to Eric's number 12, let me get a couple of comments. And let me say, I apologize. I'm not as Johnny on the spot with the comments this time. We understand this is going to be a long haul on the live stream here. So I'm trying to keep it to at least 2 minutes, 3 minutes each show. We do have Ed saying SNL, despite the poor recent decades, is still a top all-time show. That right there is why it didn't make the top 20 for me. Is sure the first 10, maybe 12 seasons had a couple, but yeah. Let's see. I'm actually getting episode reviews for One Piece on my channel, Sister Helium. So by all means, guys, check that out. Dark Admiral agrees with me about Walking Dead being awesome. Samuel Proctor asking if the xenomorph are they xenomorph zombies. And MK, he said Reacher, not Preacher. But there you go. I wonder how V would have made for a TV series. It wouldn't. The remake was okay. The original, not good. Oh, V for Vendetta. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not into TV series.
No. Okay. Right. All righty, Eric. You're number 12. What you got?
First, I want to propose that we reconvene next Monday for 10 through 1.
10 through 1?
Yeah. Because then we can, maybe if we get through number 11, we can have a little discussion about what we've already done, and we're not here all night. What do you think?
Okay. If you guys are okay with it, you guys in the chat.
Yeah, that probably would work better one way or the other. Yeah.
Okay, number 12.
We'll do this on Friday. That way it's not a whole week. Friday.
Well, no, because we read on Friday. It'll have to be next Monday.
We could start at 10.
We still,
All right, no worries.
Let's talk about
Monday.
after
That way we're not constrained by time.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
This is the story of two sisters, Jessica Tate and Mary Campbell. Absolutely hysterical from pillar to post. 4 of the best years of comedy you could ever ask for, and no subject was off the table. It was brilliant. Anybody that's seen it knows what I'm talking about. Anybody that hasn't, if you're
Billy
not,
Crystal's hilarious.
You mean the figulate? That's what Harold Gould called him in the hospital.
Yep.
And like I said, I'm a little jealous that the gay character got more women than I ever did, but that's beside the point. I said it was just. And if anybody that hasn't seen it, if you haven't been indoctrinated, watch it. It is just phenomenal. I mean, it's ended on a cliffhanger because they were supposed to get a 5th season. The network got cold feet and just decided they they couldn't deal with the complaints any longer, so they just cut their losses. And this was like 1982, and it was still the complaints they were getting was enough to basically that, and I guess it didn't have the best ratings in the world by season 4, but just absolutely well worth a watch. And thank you to Joe, because he reminded me, because whenever you make these lists, you always get to the end and go, oh, son of a bitch, I forgot.
That's why I went. I was the obsessive one, guys. Ladies, you know what? No, I'm going to give myself the due I am deserved here. Okay. I went year to year looking at everything. I created this big ass freaking list right here of 140 shows. Right here. I went I did my freaking homework. I knew we were going to do this.
Well, that's because you're a walking listicle.
Oh man, why do you do it on loose leaf? You can do it on a keyboard or on your
I like because
then you could just change things easier instead of crossing out.
No, because I'm on the computer. So I would have to go back to the page and everything. No, I'm good this way. But the one thing that really stuck with me as far as soap was the cop. I don't remember much about it, but he breaks down. He's always stoic and quiet, and he breaks down and he says, a man should never outlive his daughter. Yeah. That hit me hard as a kid, and that has stuck with me.
Oh, the major?
I've got girls. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was batshit crazy from the war, but every once in a while he would say the most poignant things of anybody on the show. And that's what I said. So for a show that was, you have to consider probably, I guess, slapstick. When it got serious, it was so well done. And I think it was brilliant. I mean, it's, unfortunately, fortunately for, depending on your perspective, Robert Guillaume left to do Benson. They spun that character off, but his character on Soap was hysterical. And the guy they replaced him with, Roscoe Lee Brown, if you remember him.
Oh yeah,
another very stoic, black British actor.
He's really good.
It was funny in his own right, but Benson, like I said, it was any character you can point to had great moments on that show, and there was not a wasted character in the bunch.
All right.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it also the show that had the first openly gay character?
Jody.
Yeah.
But he kept ending up with women, which is something they'd never do today, because I said once in entertainment, once you're gay, you're gay. But it actually made sense in the context of the show. So it's
all right. Dalton, number 12.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
All righty.
I was in the target audience for this because it came out right when I was 12, and it's another one of those shows where there is not a single bad episode in the entire lot. There are some boring episodes, especially right in the beginning before we actually get the mission statement of the show, but everything after the Storm episode, which is where I think it really kicked in, where they contrasted Zuko and Aang's backstories with the Storm, is just classic upon classic upon classic animation. And a lot of the other really great action cartoons of the 2000s probably wouldn't have existed if Avatar: The Last Airbender didn't break down the doors first. So, yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
All right. You
don't talk about Korra, ever.
You had it higher on your list than I did, but I think I raved more. I sold it a little bit more. Maranya saying Soap was a send-off of both daytime and nighttime soap operas with a lot of serious themes, including the reveal of the father, Mary Campbell's older son, Peter. Spoiler, it wasn't her husband. Samuel Proctor saying, I realize that a majority of the shows I've watched are superhero cartoons, which explains why I used to think it's weird that live-action shows have hour-long episodes. And Marani's reminding us that in season 1 of Saturday Night Live, they had the Muppets. Let's see. There was also a goofy send-up of the Exorcist movies with Corinne and the priest's baby being possessed. Apparently, funny enough for Eric to.
Oh yeah,
laugh
I said
at
it's
the
just
thought of it.
it's because you remember those, and so but soap had so many of those moments.
All righty.
Tillium, that is self-evidently true to the point that I'm almost insulted that you felt like you had to say it.
Oh, that Avatar: The Last Airbender is better than James Cameron Avatar. All righty. So then number 11 here, we're going to do one more round, and then we're going to wait until next week to finish up.
Maranya brought up Muppets. It's kind of funny, but mine's going a different direction. Mine's going into space, and it was filmed in Australia. Stars Ben Browder.
Do his number 11 yet? Did he?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh
no, you've already started. Go on ahead.
Well, I was just saying, for my number 11 is basically Farscape.
Farscape. Okay, tell us why it's Farscape.
It's just an epic, crazy story, which was produced by Brian Henson. But an astronaut goes to a wormhole, ends up in the far side of space, and he's immediately thrown. He finds aliens. He's got people shooting. He's in the middle of a war. Aliens are trying to escape, and he's just like, no one understands him whatsoever. He's stuck over there, and everybody makes fun of him because he's like, whoa, wait, there's a whole planet full of Crichtons. And it's like, oh, that's horrible. It's because he's comparatively he's an idiot, but he's also got the out of the box thinking, which they find really strange. But overall, he said you get Jim Henson Creature Shop. They do when they have the aliens on. It's really cool how they do stuff. They have a puppet that basically operates the ship called Moya. It's a living ship. And like I said, and it's just every episode was just fun. For a sci-fi show, went on for 4 seasons. That was one of the first sci-fi TV series to actually get canceled after being saying they were going to do it for a 5th season. And they were allowed to come back for a 2-episode miniseries movie, and a comic book. But fun. It launched Claudia Black's career.
Okie dokie.
Also, Virginia Hay was.
I actually have never watched any of it.
Virginia Hay, the Bonds girl, was on there.
Dude, Angwin, you have to give Farscape a shot. It's really good.
Farscape and Babylon 5. I never watched either one of them.
I would say Farscape over Babylon 5.
Yeah, Babylon 5, you'd still be wrong for not watching it, but you'd be okay to skip it. But Farscape, you'd actually lose your geek card if you don't watch it at some point.
Okay, well,
I'll disagree with that. You being a big Star Trek fan, especially if you were a fan of Deep Space Nine, then you would enjoy Babylon 5 a whole heck of a lot more.
But actually, another sci-fi show I came to very late. Actually, not until. A friend was talking to me about it because there was going to be a movie. Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot. What is it? I cannot stand. Yeah, Firefly. I'm sorry, but my friend, the movie Serenity was about to come out, and he started saying, "Oh, you gotta check this out. You gotta check this out." And I said, "Okay, is there any?" Because my kids were there, and I knew they would be watching. And he says, "No, you don't have to worry." Well, one of the characters is a whore. That's how I was pitched Firefly. One of the characters is a whore.
Really? One of the other ones is a priest. So
yeah, I guess it balances out, right? So I was told, okay, so what you're saying, it's a Western in space, but it's got whore characters. All right, let me watch this.
Marina Baccarin, Christina Hendricks.
Oh my gosh, she was hot as but when I put it on and the first episode comes up and I go, well, it's kind of slow, but let's see how the second and it's just like Avatar. I was hooked. And this is a show. I told you that one of the things that puts shows on my list is, will I go back to it? And this is one that I've watched on rotation before. Like I put it on. I was like, you know what? One more time around. Let's go. It is just an awesome freaking show. Well written, dialogue's great. Like Eric said, it's before everybody started writing like Joss Whedon, and it's one of those things. A lot of people are like, oh well, I'd like another season, I'd like another movie. I think that would ruin it, especially because you're not going to get Joss Whedon of the 2000s that wrote it. You're going to get feminist Joss Whedon who needs to make a name for himself because he got canceled writing it right now.
Yeah, it's gonna have the Neil Gaiman effect.
Well, he also got canceled again for because all the Buffy actors are coming on saying how kind of a sleazebag he was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You would get a different. You're going to get a different Joss Whedon, but the show itself, freaking incredible.
How many episodes was there?
Which, by the way, a lot of people are turning on because of Joss Whedon. There were 13 episodes. There were 13 episodes in a movie.
Yeah, of which only 12 actually, I think, actually got broadcast.
Airing, yeah.
I've always wanted to watch Firefly.
Also got broadcast out of order, and Fox.
I recommended RDV. Seriously,
it's one of those. It's one of the things where it's like I know it's either going to leave off on a cliffhanger, or I'm just going to be so pissed because I want more.
No, in all honesty, it doesn't because of the movie. Serenity wraps shit up.
The movie was the finale that the show desperately needed.
Watch the TV show, then watch Serenity. It wraps everything up. Go.
Except those one season shows, it's like, I want more.
We've been talking about what's her name, Makara Baron, whatever her name is. The one that plays
Baccarin.
Which one?
Marina Baccarin.
Marina Baccarin. She's in Firefly, but you want to talk about a one-season show that they leave on a cliffhanger. She was the villain in the remake of V. And at the end of V, the lizard people hypnotize Earth. Like people are just stuck staring. And that was the way it ended. It's like, wait, no, don't cancel it until you finish that show. Come on. I actually liked it, but it ended on
For a few seasonal cliffhangers, looking at you, Constantine NBC show.
Exactly. Every story has a different natural lifespan. Sometimes you can keep making more and it feels natural. Other times it just needs to end early. Did you guys ever see the remake of Twin Peaks? It's not good. I mean, the original wasn't good, but the remake sucked.
The continuation of it, you mean? It was a remake, I thought. I thought it was a continuation. Because Pixel and Rob covered it.
It was a continuation.
LK, what's your number 11?
My number 11 is Batman the Animated Series.
Nice.
Especially for the folks on this channel, there's not much more to say about it. Even to this day, it's still, the iconic Batman for me. And again, too, I mean, it wasn't like this hit me necessarily in a sweet spot. I mean, when this came out, I was already an adult, but it was fantastic. And huge credit to Fox for sticking with the show. Because we got a ton of seasons and a ton of episodes.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't Fox.
Just wonderfully written. And good or bad. I mean, this is where we got Harley Quinn from. To speak with this, I forget which one of you people had to post that Todd McFarlane tweet to show me the new Batman the Animated Series figures coming out from McFarlane Toys, and it's like just when I was about out and like, okay, I'm just collecting the X-Men 97 figures. Oh God, I might need to get these.
Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back.
That show had such a bad teaser.
They picked the perfect figure to do as a Build-A-Figure, because nobody would buy Condiment King on their own, but making it the Build-A-Figure is just perfect.
You just sold me on getting all of them.
Yeah.
I pass up on a lot of those because action figures start at like $52 now. So it's but I'll get those with
I mean, with these being McFarlane, they're probably going to be 25 to 30 if you can get them retail. The first wave is Batman, Robin, Scarecrow, and Mr. Freeze, and
let me steer the boat back to the show.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, everything about the show, I mean, is fantastic. I mean, mature storylines, fantastic voice acting, voice direction. As I say too, for me, it's the iconic Batman. They took the Tim Burton backdrop of Gotham City and put it into an animated format, and it's perfect.
There's one episode I was laughed because it was basically I think it was Roxy Rocket where she's having an orgasm on the rocket.
Oh,
because her and Batman is like, he's like playing chicken with her. They're going to the clip, and he's like, no. And then she's like, oh, it's like, holy crap, this is a kid show.
I watch the Christmas episode every year.
Well, Harley and Ivy go on a shopping spree.
No, the one where the Joker escapes Arkham and he kidnaps the Bat family and everything. So yeah.
When he actually uses the song.
There's so many episodes.
Let's end your 20 to 11 here. What's your number 11?
Treme. It was the follow-up show by the folks that did The Wire, and it was set in Treme. It was set in New Orleans post Katrina.
Okay. Basically,
the show existed to trash George Bush, but it was so well done because at the time, I didn't realize. I mean, I hadn't come to hate him as I do now, but that's neither nor there. But it was just the characters. It's kind of like a character study, and there was a couple of people from The Wire that were on the show, not as the same characters, but and the original, the first season centered around Melissa Leo and John Goodman, were a husband and wife, and Goodman didn't want to stay, so his character blew his brains out. And then she had to deal with the aftermath of that. And there's a lot of great music, a lot of great characters. Steve Earle, the musician, was in both The Wire and Treme. And I always thought it was kind of funny that he survived The Wire, but gets killed off in Treme. And very few people were killed in Treme. And I'm sure that might have been by design, but
that's the joke.
And it lasted 3 seasons, but then it got a truncated 4th season because they wanted to celebrate Obama's election. Because it was set, the time frame's like 2005 through 2008. So even though by the time the show was filming, he'd already won re-election. So like I said, politically, I can't say I agreed with a whole lot of it. But like I said, the guy, David Simon, that whole crew that worked on, some of the guys even work on Bosch. I mean, it was a great show. I highly recommend it. It's very good, and if you like blues and Cajun kind of music, you'll love the music throughout it also.
All righty.
Thanks, brother.
All right.
You got it, brother.
And then we come to Dalton to end the program here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna cheat
us with something good.
And I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but you'll understand why when I get done saying my piece. My number 11 is the original Paul Dini Bruce Timm DC animated universe. The reason being, I mean, I don't think I have to vouch for the quality of any of the original 4 because the audience we are in, but I just can't separate them. And moreover, since I did decide to segment my list of the bottom 20 being animated and the top 20 being live action, had I separated them out, it would have literally taken up the top half of this entire list. So
personally, I said then that's the way you should do it. But okay, I'll put it in there.
Well, but the thing is, it's all the same people working on it. It's the same writing staff, the same animators,
okay.
Same voice actors, the same universe.
Obviously, Batman the animated series, and the next ones.
Superman animated series and the 2 Justice Leagues.
Okay. The 2 Justice Leagues with 4 seasons, I thought, right?
Yeah.
Or all total.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, look, I get it. It's hard to separate them. I did. And I was like, okay, what's going to go where? I understand this. Superman was awesome. I actually think that Batman kind of overshadows the Superman animated series.
Well, when doesn't he, to be fair?
But Superman, the animated series, is freaking awesome. It's just, it has some excellent moments. The Lobo episode, the Mitzapitalic, whatever you want to say. Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried as Mixie was hilarious.
absolutely
The
perfection.
fact that they decided, you know what, we have 2 separate shows here. Let's just make it the Batman Superman hour, and they combine the themes.
Yeah, I got that movie, by the way, which I got a lot of the freaking DC
and then you have Justice League just going, you know, these are DC properties. Why don't we just bring in the entire freaking DC universe?
You know, there is one show,
and lo, they did.
There is one show you forgot though. It's Batman Beyond.
Well, yes, obviously I almost consider that a continuation of Batman. Is why I didn't specify it out. But yes, the basically everything that wasn't a movie that Paul Dini and Bruce Timm collaborated on in the DC universe is what I'm including. After Paul and Tim had their falling out and Paul Dini kind of tried to do it on his own, there was quite a massive downgrade in quality. I do think there was something special about them working together that made it work as well as it did. And of course, they were both in their prime at the time, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the original Paul Dini, Bruce Timm DC animated universe, splitting hairs between them is like splitting hairs between my children, and it would have taken up like half of the top of this list. So
it's a cheat.
Gets one slot.
It is cheap, but okay, we'll let you.
Wait a minute. There are more of you.
Anyone else find it quite ironic that Jimmy's in here talking about Doctor Who, but he's never on the other show talking about Doctor Who? It's always Chris and Pixel.
Yeah, we don't need to talk more about Doctor Who. Joe is saying he put Static Shock on the list. Now I've never seen that one either. I think I might have to start watching some of these things.
You'd like it. Actually pretty good.
You've never seen Static Shock? Okay, your geek card is revoked until you finish seeing Static Shock.
How many of the comics have you read?
I'm just saying in terms of TV, your geek card is momentarily suspended.
What? Hold on. Let me scroll up to see the name of my my channel again. What's it called? I
love comics, but I don't review them.
That's true. Do you know why I don't review them? Because I love them, and I don't want to talk about modern comics. No, I'm just kidding. There you go. Hey, look, I'll watch Static Shock at some point. The way it usually goes is, hey, I gotta see that. Well, I don't want to watch it if I'm not, reviewing or doing something with a lot of TV or something.
A lot of heartfelt episodes in there.
And I mean, they did inner city gang politics in a kids show, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, I mean, granted, it is an adaptation of the original Static series, and
but
Game War did happen in the first issue.
Yep.
But the fact that they got away with that on Cartoon freaking Network is just like,
cannot stand.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me. Stop revoking geek cards because someone doesn't watch X show that you like. Not everyone has to watch every show to be geek. Everyone has different things. Enough said.
Take away her geek card.
No, that's just what we did at the comic book shop. Stop it.
Yep. Maranya, put the hammer down.
And that's right. That's why comic collecting is toxic.
It's supposed to encourage you to be a better geek, which is a good thing.
So before we go, we'll start. We'll go in the other direction. Dalton, can you recap your list, or do you want me to do it for you?
Please do it.
Okay, I don't remember 20 and 19. 18 was Ed, and Eddie. 17, Jackie Chan Adventures. Number 16, Ben 10. Number 15, Animaniacs. Number 14, Gargoyles. Number 13, Castlevania. Number 12, Avatar: The Last Airbender. And number 11, the Diniverse.
Yes. And 20 and 19 were Daria and Courage the Cowardly Dog.
All righty, Daria was funny.
Daria was great. It doesn't hold up quite as well now that I'm in my late 20s, because especially living in the 2020s now, I look back at a lot of her insights, and yes, they're sharp and witty and definitely screwing norms is a good thing. But the problem with Daria is she was so cynical about what we can now look back on as a golden age. Like there was one of the early episodes where she's poo-pooing a mall that they take a field trip to. And I went to a mall recently when I was watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in the theater. and everything was shuntered because part Amazon and part COVID. So it was like you didn't realize how good you had it, Dari.
All righty, Eric.
I was gonna say real quickly, the voice actors for Dari, was that Janine Garofalo or whatever her name is?
No.
Who was the voice actress? I remember she was actually a celebrity.
How about you, Eric? You want to recap?
What if it had been Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness, and you could have killed two birds with one stone?
What?
Multiverse. Now you can think of new ways to kill me. First, I would say, a couple shows won't get mentioned, but we're just outside the top 20. Taxi and Chuck.
Okay.
All right, 20, Bob Newhart. 19, Flintstones. 18, Mary Tyler Moore. 17, MASH. 16, 24. 15, All in the Family. 14, House of Cards. 13, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. 12, Soap. 11, Treme.
All righty. Okay, you want to recap?
Sure. I mean, I'll throw in a couple of honorable mentions here that won't get mentioned, but Veronica Mars, one of the best first seasons in modern memory. Great mystery story there. And then I've always loved sketch shows, and Mr. Show with Bob and David was one of the best. So that being said, number 20 is NCIS. Number 19 is Cowboy Bebop. Number 18 is Venture Brothers. Number 17 is The Price is Right. Number 16, Hogan's Heroes. Number 15, MI5. Number 14, Mystery Science Theater 3000. 13 is The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Number 12 is The Larry Sanders Show. And number 11 is Batman, the Animated Series.
Jack Barr was better.
Venkman, do you have a runner-up before you put your list, your recap your list?
No, I'm not going to give any runners up because next week they'll be in the place of the other ones.
All right.
So I can't really say, but number 20 was Emergency. Number 19 was Andy Griffith Show. 18 was The MASH. 17 Hercules Legendary Journeys. 16 was Last Man Standing. 15 Quantum Leap. Number 14 was Doctor Who. Number 13 was Knight Rider. Number 12 was Reacher. And number 11 was Farscape.
Now, one thing about the runner-up thing is you're admitting that it's not going to show up anywhere in your top 20.
Well, the thing is that there's so many runners-up. I'm constantly thinking of. So it's a point where it's
I have 132.
I don't have that. I have a list of 20, but I'm just.
The ones that actually made the list, that when I was doing I would rather watch this one again. I would rather watch this one again. There were 3 that got knocked off the list.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Charmed, out of the early seasons, would be on there. But if I had planned this out better, I'd still be doing where I'm like, well, I like this, and then I think of another one. How did I forget this?
Or they'd switch places. Like as I was getting ready to do my 2 and 1, Avatar and the Dini-verse or the Dini Tim-verse switched places because I was like, as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender is, the Dini-verse was larger and had a more lasting impact, so they switched.
All right. Well, talking to Samuel Proctor, he says that his. By the way, John Adams wouldn't count because it was a miniseries. We'll do miniseries as its own animal. Justice League, Batman Animated, Justice League, Avatar, Spectacular Spider-Man, Gargoyles, Phineas and Ferb, Spider-Man the Animated Series, and Superman the Animated Series. But there you go. Now next week we're doing 10 through 1. If I were to give my my runner-ups, the ones that just fell out, it would be Stargirl, and that kind of doesn't even that doesn't even fit with my number 12 I'm sorry, my number 13 and my number 22 and 21, which would be Fantasy Island and WKRP, which I think are excellent freaking shows. But when you live 53 years and you watch all this television, great shows are going to fall out of that top 20.
Yep.
My recap is at number 20. Oh, no, that's Dalton's. Number 20 was MASH, and then we have Star Trek, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Gotham, Tales of the Gold Monkey, Orville, My Name is Earl, Happy Days, The Walking Dead, and then number 11 was Firefly. So there we go, guys. It has been 2.5 hours, so we've kept this really tight. But that's actually kind of, I guess that's the reason why we're breaking it in half, so we don't feel we need to rush or we get bored with it. So there you go. Next Monday, we'll do 11 through 1s and give everybody enough time to be able to say what they want and maybe even tighten up their lists in Venkman's case and come up with a real top 10. Yeah.
Like I said, I have a top 10, and then within 20 seconds, it's another top 10. And then because I keep getting shows.
There's a lot of great shows. Yeah.
They swap around. It's the problem. Yeah.
There's a possibility that Venkman hasn't even seen an episode of his number 3 show of all time yet. He has a week.
There you
Actually,
go.
I have, and it's a very good show. And and I'll just say that you liked it too.
MK, no,
know
Fantasy
what it is.
Island is not about hooking up couples. Now, here's the secret to Fantasy Island. If it's got Ricardo Montalban, it's good. If it's a Fantasy Island without Ricardo Montalban, don't watch it. Tain't good. That is a working 100% honest version of Fantasy Island.
See, I didn't include game shows because game shows is a whole nother category for me as far as shows that I like.
I get it.
Shows.
I get it, man.
Price is Right.
Yeah,
Wheel of
I didn't include anything from reality TV. Otherwise,
No whammies. No whammies. I mean, that you gotta think about game shows sometimes as well. I get it. I get it.
The match game, the dating game. All those.
Match game was kind of weird. It just
Yeah, I think I'm reading Cinema Quirk's last thing. I'm seeing it as take my wrench, take my wrench, take my wrench, take my wrench, take my wrench.
Boring. I know I'm kidding. Haha. Hey, Venkman, fave show plotting is Ghostbuster cartoon.
I will not confirm or deny that Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, no,
might be on my
I
list.
agree. I agree. Let's not give away the top 10, guys. Come back and see for that. Don't forget, by the way, click like, share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Get word out about our 2.5 hour live streams.
Go on the Ko-Fi link that's going to scroll in a few seconds on the bottom.
Yeah, there you go. And if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Ko-Fi, drop $1 in the tip jar, or just say, hey, make this video for me. Otherwise, thank you guys for hanging out with us. It was a long one, but as Gail has never told me, it was satisfying. So, once again,
That's why you're here doing 2.5 hours.
I know, right? Yeah.
Tomorrow night on the channel here at 10:30. Yeah, it'd be 10:30 Eastern. RPG.
Yeah, we got the RPG game, and there you go. All righty. Thanks a lot for hanging out. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Good night,
See
kid.
you all later.
cheers, guys.